everyone, and welcome to the opening drive on 101 ESPN in St. Louis, where it's 7 o'clock. Your time check brought to you by Clarkson Jewelers, an officially licensed Rolex jeweler. Hope you enjoyed or are enjoying your breakfast this morning. Brooke Grimsley is here. Natty Roccio is here. I'm Randy Kerber. Great to have you with us. How you doing?
I'm doing great. I didn't have my usual breakfast this morning, so I actually do have a routine in the mornings. Mm-hmm. One, having a lot of coffee, Randy. Two, I like to have those Belvita breakfast bars, but I forgot to grab them this weekend, so I just had to grab something else from the pantry.
And?
So we'll see how this goes.
What'd you grab?
It's just like this really, I don't know, it's not that good. It's kind of just like a Fig Newton, basically.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Those Belvitas are good.
I have that every single morning.
You're like Nick Saban. You know, Nick Saban has two oatmeal cream. Is it not Dolly Madison?
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I feel like I've seen that before.
Matthew.
Yeah.
Like the Little Debbie, like oatmeal cream pies?
Yeah, that's exactly. He has two of those every single morning. That's all he ever has.
Starts his day with that?
Those are the greatest things associated with oatmeal.
Yeah. So,
they're so good.
So you may or may not have heard that PSA before we got started about people that are hungry. So we just thought we would talk breakfast with you a little.
It made you hungry, right? Yeah.
It did.
Hungry for some NFL talk?
NFL talk. To college football's championship is tonight here on 101 ESPN. Pregame at 5:30, Michigan and Washington. We're going to talk to our friend, our town's Dan Dierdorf, about that game coming up at 9:15. We're also going to talk to Chris Kerber later in the show, and it was a busy weekend, and we'll get started with our St. Louis Blues, who, oh, by the way, if the playoffs started today, and this is a great roller coaster ride, if you're not on it, hop on the Blues roller coaster with us, would you please? Because sometimes they're 4 points out of the last playoff spot. Sometimes they're in the first wild card playoff spot. As we start the morning, the Blues are tied for the second wild card spot in points with Edmonton at 41. Edmonton's only played 36 games. The Blues have played 38. But as the Blues get ready to take on the Panthers tomorrow night, they are essentially tied for the second wild card spot after a 2-1 win at Carolina on Saturday, in which the Blues snapped Carolina's 5-game winning streak.
You have to feel really excited about this team right now, Randy.
It's unbelievable.
Right? I'm still tiptoeing in, maybe a little bit, but I might be fully in on this right now. And you were talking about the Blues being a roller coaster. Earlier in the season, when they were going up and down, you knew if they won a game, they were going to lose the next one. I liken the Blues to the Tower of Terror, because that is just completely, up and down, up and down, up and down. Now, it feels like we're off the Tower of Terror and moving on to maybe a better roller coaster. I hope so. Knock on wood.
No, a better roller coaster goes up and down more.
Really? You think so? Does it do a little spin move?
Yeah.
In between there, too?
Yeah, you go upside down at times.
Yeah. Maybe one of those. Where it's an exciting feeling, not as much of the fear of going up and down, up and down. You have to feel good about the Blues right now and what they're able to do. Also, super excited to have the Thunder from Down Under, Nathan Walker scoring.
Nadub is back.
That's exactly what you want from that fourth line, right?
Okay, so Michelle hated the nickname Nadub. Are you okay with Nadub?
Oh, I love Nadub.
Thank you.
Yes,
Good.
yes.
So this is important.
Nadub, yes, the Aussie.
Yeah.
For him to score. That's what I wanted.
Thunder from Down Under. I like that. We've got multiples, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it could also be for something else that's out there, but still, Thunder from Down Under. But Rocc was making a face, so I felt like I should address that.
I went to Vegas. I saw the posters.
Oh, you went to Vegas and you just saw the posters. You didn't see the show.
How was your weekend?
Okay. He just saw the posters, Randy. So that's all he did. Had no idea.
Blues and Rally Saturday night. I'm going to get us out of that. How is it that I'm the one getting us out of this, by the way?
I don't know. Whoopsie daisy.
So Nadub does score. Blue and Binner was sensational. He turned aside 29 of 30. 1-1 game through the 3-on-3 overtime period into the shootout. And we go to the fifth round of the shootout before one of the Blues' colder players wins it for him.
Fifth round of the shootout. Shen. Ball with this feel good for him. Can he win it? In. Shootout. Deeks. Shoots. Score! The captain with a game winner in the shootout. A 2-1 win on the road against the Hurricanes. And you can bring out the Zamboni. The boys are coming home for a homestand.
They are coming home for a 4-game homestand after that win. And Brooke, we're going to talk about this later on in the program. But here's what you got coming up. I don't know if you kind of taken a close look at the schedule.
No, we've talked about
The
it.
Panthers tomorrow have 52 points, tied for the third most, or they have the third most in the NHL. That's tomorrow. Thursday, the Rangers tied for the most overall points in the league. Saturday, the Bruins tied with the Rangers for the most overall points in the league. And then next Monday, to conclude the 4-game homestand, the Flyers are sitting there with the 7th most points in the National Hockey League. So this is a rugged portion of the schedule. Now, you say you're on board. You've got buy-in, which the players need. Do you have a buy-in for this Blues team against that schedule?
Against that schedule, that's going to be a very tough schedule. But at this point, the way that you've already started off with this schedule, I think is encouraging. They're already doing things that we wish that they would have done earlier in this season.
Wouldn't
We were
have gotten the
talking
coach
about
fired.
up and down. Well, and I don't like that Craig Berube is fired, but we talked about this. This just seems to be the way that the NHL goes. The players even know it, where you just have this coaching carousel where after a few years, the message goes stale. You have to bring in a new voice. And it seems like Drew Bannister, with his familiarity with these young players, knows how to at least get the most out of them, or at least where they feel a little bit more comfortable with this message. I don't doubt that the message is any different than Craig Berube's. Do you think so?
No, I don't think so. But maybe Drew Bannister and Robert Thomas has brought this. Maybe just the more quiet demeanor has more of an effect on this group of players. I thought it was really interesting when in Bannister's, I think it was his opening press conference, when he talked about effort. He said in all of his years of coaching, he could count on one hand the number of times that he wasn't satisfied with his team's effort. And with the Blues, Mike Yo, we heard that. Heck, we heard that 6 times in a row. And Berube, we certainly heard it a lot this year. And last year. We need more compete. We need more compete. So far, the Blues have played very hard for Drew Bannister. So good for him and good for them. A brutal weekend in college basketball in the area. We don't need to go too in-depth here, but SLU lost to George Mason, 79-67. The Billikens now 7-8, 0-2 in the A-10. Mizzou loses their SEC opener to Georgia, 75-68. And Purdue hammered Illinois. Number 1 Purdue beating number 9 Illinois, 83-78 on Friday. Wasn't that close. It was a 21-point game in the second half, and Illinois scrapped back to get within 5. So bad weekend of college basketball here.
Rocc, you look so disappointed. One, because
that was
this
not a
is
fun weekend of college
play.
basketball. There was. I found very little joy in the sport of college basketball over the weekend, which is good because I feel like there's something in the universe that stops me from really enjoying college basketball until college football's over.
Makes sense.
I think that's what it is.
Yep. Speaking of college football, Mizzou defensive coordinator, if you weren't around for the Friday night information dump, Mizzou defensive coordinator Blake Baker left for LSU. 3-year contract, $7.5 million, 2.5 a year. Pete Thamel of ESPN saying that's the highest paid assistant coach in all of college football. So congratulations to Blakey.
Brady, I think you're the only one clapping for that. What am I supposed to believe anymore? I sat here and I read you guys that quote that Baker had just a week prior, talking about how much he loves it here at Mizzou and how much he loves and feels like they have unfinished business with Mizzou football. And so quickly, it didn't even feel like a day that those rumors started.
No.
He is gone. What am I supposed to believe anymore, Randy?
Well, in college football with coaching, don't believe anything. Last year, Hugh Freeze signed an extension with Liberty in early December, and in late December, he took the Auburn job. Those contracts aren't worth the paper that they're written on. Eli Drinkwitz had a long-term contract at Appalachian State, and Mizzou took him. It's just part and parcel of what we go through.
You know, I should have looked deeper when Blake Baker tweeted out the Jordan Belfort, I'm not effing leaving me. I should have then remembered, eventually Jordan Belfort does get arrested.
Yeah.
It does come to an end.
Have to leave.
Here's the thing. What happens next year if Mizzou is good? One of two things happens next year. Either Mizzou is good again and Baker leaves to become a head coach, or Mizzou is bad and they get rid of him like they did with Steve Wilkes and the defensive coordinator the first year. That's what happens.
That's the risk reward, because if they're good next year, you're right. He's a head coach somewhere.
And if they're not, he's on the hot seat. So he's gone, and I guess that Eli is going to look around before promoting DJ Smith to the only defensive coordinator here. By the way, it was the current coach at Purdue, Ryan Walters, that was the first-year defensive coordinator, and Drink had no problem pushing him out the door either.
No, it seems like it would make sense that DJ Smith would get the role, consider that they elevated his title to co-defensive coordinator. That would seem like you would just take away the co, and now he's your new defensive coordinator. But when you look at his resume, not that there's anything wrong with promoting from within, but he hasn't had that experience yet as a defensive coordinator. But at the same time, if you want that continuity of that, then it makes a lot of sense. Right. But do you have any concerns with him not having held that role before? And he was at Appalachian State with Eli prior.
I don't. I'm not that concerned. Baker hadn't. Well, I guess Baker had. But you got to start at some point. So I'm not that bothered by it. But I would be surprised if Eli, because his recent history, I mean, bringing in Steve Wilkes, a former NFL guy, and Baker had been a defensive coordinator. I will not be surprised if Eli brings in a guy with defensive coordinating experience. And there's a lot of guys out there.
Yeah.
And this is an attractive place to be now. According to Gabe DeArmond, Mizzou was ready to come close to matching the $2.5 million a year for Baker. So they're paying, they're good. Apparently, a great guy to work with and for in Eli Drinkwitz. The culture is there.
12-team playoff format now that you know that Mizzou actually has a clear path to that.
And they're paying. They're getting players. I mean, you got the top defensive player in the country. You recruited him, so I think things are pretty good there.
Yeah.
And finally, from the weekend. Over the course of the 2023 baseball season, Brooke Grimsley had a lot of favorites. Oscar Mercado was one of her favorites.
I don't know if I said Oscar.
I think you might have.
But yeah, he was nice. Yeah.
He was going to get going. But her absolute favorite was Richie Palacios. Left-handed hitter, had a great year. Thought he was going to be part of the Cardinal outfield mix, but he got traded to Tampa Bay on Friday for a right-handed reliever named Andrew Kittredge. And Brooke is kind of crying right now because Richie is gone.
Oh, Richie, we barely knew you. No, really, we barely knew you. We barely got to see you. But, Randy, in that limited time that we did get to see him, I will say that it was exciting during a period of time when there was not much exciting going on with the St. Louis Cardinals, as we know. So it was nice having him around. But honestly, with this trade, I feel like the Cardinals got a good deal out of this.
I love this trade.
Yeah, with Andrew Kittredge, the fact that you were able to get Richie Palacios, one, for cash from Cleveland, right? And that they were able to flip that around into now a trade where you're getting a big piece or possibly a big piece for your bullpen. And we've been talking about how you still need that veteran presence. That felt like the missing piece for this bullpen. I like it.
I like it too. And I always go back to when the Cardinals traded for Paul Goldschmidt and Bill DeWitt Jr. said, he is the perfect Cardinal.
Yeah.
And Andrew Kittredge is kind of the perfect Cardinal.
Why is that, you think?
Well, Brooke, number one, he's been quoted as saying he pitches for the Lord.
Oh,
which is
there
important.
You go. Yes.
That's important. And as a youngster.
That strikeout brought to you by Jesus.
Yeah, he gets us. And the other thing about Andrew, in addition to having great stuff, and in his all-star year had a 9.7 strikeout to innings pitched ratio, strikeout per 9. As a kid, as a young man,
as a lad,
Andrew Kittredge went to church every single Sunday. Twice. He is doubly blessed. He is. So that's the kind of guy we want on our team. And Matthew's looking at me like, no.
How did they never trade for this guy when Wayno was on the team?
I don't know.
But it makes sense.
I'm excited about having him on the team. I think that he's going to be a great fit on and off the field for the St. Louis Cardinals.
Was he pitching in 2013?
No. Well, somewhere he probably was.
All right. I was just going to say.
He is going to be. Now, I should bring this up because a lot of people on social media, Randy, were talking about the age because we are adding another 34-year-old. I think he's 34 or he's about to be. Let me see really quickly. I think he's about to turn 34.
I'm okay with that. Yeah, I think he is going to be 34.
In March?
Yeah, in March. And he's coming off Tommy John.
Yes.
It's different for me when you have a reliever and you can spot him and pick and choose the points at which you're going to use him rather than counting on a starter to give you 6 or 7 innings every 5th day.
Yes.
So I like the guy, and 6'1", 230, and I like the trade because I don't think Richie Palacios was going to do much here unless there were injuries.
There wasn't a role for him.
Right. So I'm credit to the Cardinals for getting that veteran relief pitcher that we thought they would have to get in free agency.
Yeah. Well, and then you do have a little bit. It gives you a little pause when you hear Cardinals, Rays trading an outfielder all in a sentence.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But I think what's different here is, one, Richie Palacios wasn't like Randy Rosarina, that he was in the Cardinals system where they had a little bit more of a chance to get some looks at him prior. Once again, you got him from Cleveland, and you were able to have really just turn a great month from him into a trade,
Yeah. So
there's a lot of value in that.
I'm good with it. And he will play regularly for Tampa Bay, by the way. 2013, Andrew Kittredge playing for Adelaide in the Australian Baseball League. How about that?
I'm surprised Matheny never found him.
Yeah, that is kind of surprising. Then he played also in 2013 in A-ball, AA, and AAA. So that's where he made his move with the Mariners. Well, I don't know. Had a 6.39 ERA in those three spots, but that's different. Was an all-star a couple of years ago, had Tommy John. Off of Tommy John and Andrew Kittredge, now a member of your Cardinals. By the way, next weekend you've got the winter warm-up. You can probably get Andrew Kittredge autographs. Just go to cardinals.com and sign up for the winter warm-up there. And then the Baseball Writers Dinner is next Sunday night. Yes, Matthew?
I thought of a new game show that we can do in St. Louis this year. We call it Parish Wars, and we do a little game show to decide which parish gets Andrew Kittredge.
Oh, I like this a lot.
Oh.
Okay. Parish wars.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Yeah, there's never been a war fought over religion before, so this will be something new.
Parish kerfuffle?
Brouhaha.
Parish brouhaha. There we
Yes,
go.
that is very much a brouhaha.
There we go. Coming up, we've got three things we loved about the weekend from 101 ESPN and the opening drive. All right, time for 3 things we loved about the weekend here on the opening drive.
Number 3.
My number 3, and I mentioned this earlier, but I'm very excited about it. I'm a huge Nathan Walker fan, and he brought the thunder from down under, Randy, this weekend when he was able to score. You're not. I love how much you're getting a kick out of this now, aren't you?
Like it, yeah.
Nadub. There you go.
Down under.
I'm a big fan of Nathan Walker and what he's able to do. And this is what I was talking about. When you were recalling guys from Springfield, I've been waiting for somebody to bring that spark, that energy. Somebody that is showing you, yes, I know I'm not going to, maybe I'm going to be on that 4th line. It's going to be limited. You're going to see me 10-ish minutes, but I'm going to make sure that you really notice me in those 10 minutes. And for Nathan Walker to get that goal was just a very exciting moment. I thought it was huge for the Blues, and it was a big part of them eventually beating the Canes.
And I'm in the Blues game as well for my number 3. Braden Chen tries so hard, and he's been struggling, denting the score sheet lately. But in the dramatic fashion that he scored the winner in the 5th round of the shootout, I was so glad that he got rewarded and was able to be surrounded by his teammates when the Blues got a win. Because, man, it's tough, especially when you aren't being rewarded for effort. And there are very few players on this team that you can say they provided consistent effort throughout the year. Parayko and Falk, when he's been playing, I think that you can put Jake Neighbors in that class, and I think you can put Braden Chen in that class, and Thomas. But there aren't many guys on this team where you can say, okay, they provided effort regardless of who the coach was all year long. The captain has been one of those guys, and I was really happy to see him get rewarded. So that was one of my favorite things to see all weekend.
Number 2.
My number 2 is going to be Team USA winning gold in the World Junior Championship. Team USA. Stand up for America, everybody. Don't you feel that patriotism?
I do. Yeah.
Just pouring through right now. And that's what was on YouTube, guys. That's what was on YouTube, okay? Patriotism, all right? That's what we're talking about here. But Team USA winning gold. Jimmy Snuggerud, Randy, I know you've talked about him a lot, too.
Snuggy.
We are very excited to eventually see him up here with the Blues. He's, of course, a part of Team USA, but 7 Blues players contributing in the World Junior Championship is a great showing for the Blues and showcases, too, how bright their future is. So a big props to Doug Armstrong and Tim Taylor, who were able to really scout out that young talent.
2028 Stanley Cup champs, or are you going 27?
Let's do 2027.
Okay, 2027.
When do you think that Jimmy Snuggerud will be up here?
Next year at some point. And obviously you're going to have HOFer at that point when you win the Cup. HOFer is going to be your goaler, right? And you're going to have Theo Lindgren, and you're going to... Parayko will still be around. He'll be under contract, but you'll have your kids still. You'll have Kyrou and Thomas. And
Parayko will be your Bowmeister.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh.
Yeah, so it's going to be awesome to win the Cup in 2027.
Another Stanley Cup parade.
Yeah, that'd be fun. The Stanley Cup would be fun. Brooke, my number 2 is waking up to snow on Saturday morning and saying, you know what? This is a perfect weekend to sit around, use my Blues Snuggie, watch football, be lazy, and just enjoy the weekend of the NFL. I was the quintessential American over the course of this weekend. I was dozing off during football games, and when I was awake, I was eating bad food. So, and it was cold outside, and I wasn't going outside. So it was absolutely perfect. I enjoyed it immensely.
I enjoyed that it actually snowed too. I feel like when it's cold, I at least want some snow to complement it, right? Then you can get the fire going, you're relaxing. And even though you're supposed to start the year eating healthy, Randy, I haven't done a good job of that either. Because when it is cold like that, it snows, you just want to stay inside and eat cookies, essentially, with hot chocolate.
Right. I had some hot chocolate this weekend. I did.
That's delicious.
Yeah, it was hot cocoa, as they say in the old Hallmark movies.
Number 1.
My number 1 is the Tennessee Titans beating their rivals, the Jags, this weekend. And it's there was no playoffs. Okay, you don't have to mention that, Rocc.
My bad, sorry.
Thank you. But either way, you're welcome, Steelers fans, for the Titans beating the Jags this weekend. That actually helped you guys. And it also helped the Bills, too. So there was a lot of people who should be thanking a Titans fan today, including myself. But it was also the end of possibly an era. One, we said goodbye to Ryan Tannehill. Obviously, he is not coming back because they're not going to spend that kind of money again. But also possibly saying goodbye goodbye to Derrick Henry. And what a game it was for him, too. If that was his last game as a Titan, I was so excited to see it go out in that way. 153 yards, including, I don't know if you saw that 69-yarder and then that 18-yard touchdown as well. That was such a great game for Derrick Henry to go out on, and he spent so much time. He took the mic after the game and thanked the fans at Nissan Stadium.
Titan fans, I just want to say thank you for the greatest 8 years of my life, the ups and the downs. Y'all been there for everything, through the adversity, watching me grow as a person and a player, always supporting me. I love y'all. I love seeing the 22s in the stadium. Hopefully I was an inspiration to all the young kids and everybody in the community. Just thank y'all so much. Man, God is good. And tighten up, baby.
Nothing left to be said. Ladies and gentlemen, Derrick Henry, the king.
We'll miss you, Derrick. I know that there is always a possibility he could return, but let's just be honest. He's probably not going to return. And I enjoyed Derrick Henry a lot.
Me too.
I enjoyed watching him. I enjoyed watching him with the Titans and everything he was able to do. He was like smash and dash all in one. And that's not just me saying that. Chris Johnson literally said that about Derrick Henry. So very grateful. He also did a lot of stuff in the community outside of football. And he even had another speech, Randy, where he did this even longer speech where he thanked even like the cooks, everybody who's helped them behind the scenes. And the fact that he even knows all those people. And then he went outside and signed autographs for a long time.
That's cool. What a class guy.
Yeah. Very excited.
Why does every sports speech that has the reverberation now sound cooler?
Hello.
It does.
I believe today I am
Luckiest man.
Just because of that now, every time there's a reverberation in stadium, it just makes the sports speech sound 10 times cooler.
Credit to Billy Crystal. He's the one that did the Lou Gehrig speech. By the way, before I get to my number one, earlier this morning, 2 minutes after midnight, Arthur Smith was fired by the Falcons, and now the Commanders have fired Ron Rivera. No surprise there. Former Warriors GM Bob Myers and former Vikings GM Rick Spielman are going to assist in the search for a new head coach there. Brooke, my number one, sure, I had some disappointment over the weekend. I'm a Arizona Cardinal fan, and they suffered a heartbreak losing on a missed field goal at the end. I hated seeing the Rams win. I hated seeing the Cowboys win. However, Bill Belichick went out, I hope, in disaster. And a loss to the Jets. And not just a loss to the Jets, but a 17-3 loss to the hapless Jets. The only team more hapless in the NFL than the Jets this year, the hapless Patriots. Well, I guess you could throw the Panthers in there. But for Bill Belichick to helm one of the three worst offenses in the league was delicious for me. And I really enjoyed watching that game unfold and seeing as the offense sputtered through the entire game that they had absolutely no chance to win. They were never in position to score. They wound up being outgained by the Jets. They were outgained by the Jets, finishing with the Patriots finished with 119 total yards.
Oh my God.
Yeah. There's more to it. They passed for 31.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. They rushed for 88. What a way for Billy to go out. I'll bet he wishes he would have had Tom Brady. He might have even won the game, but he had Tom Brady.
Oh.
Sorry, BW.
That's
or BB. That's what happens. That's called karma. When you cheat to score a bunch at some point, when you can't cheat anymore and you don't have Tom Brady on your side, it's not going to work for you.
No, it's definitely a terrible way to go out. And he had a press conference there. He really didn't say much.
No, this morning, 45 minutes ago, he had a press conference saying, going to meet with the players, going to meet with Robert. I don't know why he did it at 7:45, but he did, and there was nothing to see there.
He didn't do like one little, if this is it, thank you.
He did not do the Derrick Henry. He wasn't classy in thanking the fans or anything like that, just in case. Yeah.
Randy, you were so delighted right now.
Yeah, that was my number one thing of the weekend. It was great to see. And that is what we loved about the weekend here on 101 ESPN. Coming up, 4 downs from week 18 in the NFL here on 101 ESPN.
This is Rocky with your Sports Center update, driven by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet and Johnny Londoff Autoplex. The Blues got a big win over the weekend on Saturday evening with a 2-1 shutout victory over the Carolina Hurricanes. They'll be back in action tomorrow, facing off against the Panthers. It's a 7 p.m. puck drop, means a 6 p.m. pregame show right here on 101 ESPN, your home for the St. Louis Blues. Also, over the weekend, not a great basketball weekend for your local squads, as St. Louis falls to George Mason 79-67. Missouri falls to Georgia 75-68, and Purdue beats Illinois. That's number 1 ranked Purdue and number 9 Illinois 83-78. That is your Sports Center update, driven by Johnny Londoff. Find your roads and shop 24/7 at londoff.com and londoffautoplex.com. Are you kidding me?
The 18th and final week of the NFL season, and we have 4 downs for you.
First down.
Brooke.
Mine is going to be, we're going to go with a theme here. Young quarterbacks, first-year starters with their backs against the wall and how they handle clutch moments. So we're going to start out with C.J. Stroud with the Texans. If you guys saw, Houston beat Indy this weekend, 23-19. And no, we're not going to talk about that fateful drop by Tyler Godson. I don't want to hear anything about that. One, can we just talk about okay, I'll talk about it real quick. Why wouldn't you have gone to either Jonathan Taylor or Zach Moss in that situation?
I have no idea what they were thinking there.
Anyways, good for the Texans because they were able to come out on top. C.J. Stroud is so exciting to watch this season, Randy. And I know it's been up and down, and I rag on the AFC South all the time, and rightfully so. Being a fan of the Titans, I've seen some really bad stuff with the AFC South. But I've been saying this too, Randy. What the Texans are building around C.J. Stroud is so exciting. And it wasn't that long ago that there was even questions about his, I guess you could say football IQ with the cognitive test that he went through, and if he would even be able to handle all this. He looked cool as a cucumber. I would say that the way that he handled himself, especially in such an important game like that with his back against the wall, that it reminded me a lot of Joe Burrow. And I'm talking about just the way that he just seemed so calm and collected in such a huge moment. And for D'Amico Ryans, you have a young rookie quarterback and rookie head coach. The fact that they were able to do this season, I think, says a lot. And Randy, I think a tell of a great quarterback, or one that is developing into a great quarterback, is he makes other guys better around him.
Bingo.
Think about your number 1 receiver right now in Collins. The way that he's really been able to elevate him, huge game for him, by the way, this past weekend. But the way that he's been able to really elevate him and some of the other players around him, you can tell that they love playing for C.J. Stroud. So I think there's a lot of exciting things there with the Texans. And look, I know somebody's going to say, but Brooke, they're probably going to get bounced here in the first round. Would you rather be in the Texans situation or in the Panthers situation right now? Because those were 2 very similar situations where you have a young quarterback and you had a head coach that was his first year, and things have gone completely south with them. I know that there's more ownership involved, but the Texans did this right.
They have. And when you look at what Bobby Slowick is doing with Stroud in the offense, and you made, to me, the biggest point, I think, is that Stroud, early on in his career, is elevating players. It's not like he's got Andre.
Look, Nico Collins, he was still trying to find his rhythm in the NFL, and now he's your number 1 wide receiver.
Right, and that very first throw of the game, the touchdown pass, was perfectly placed. Stroud is something, and he's the kind of personality you want as the face of your franchise, too. Not only does he have it on the field, but he has it off the field as well.
Second down.
All right, Brooke, here is what Bears quarterback Justin Fields had to say yesterday when asked if he would like the Bears to commit to him as their franchise quarterback.
It would mean a lot, I have a pretty good relationship with Ryan and the guys upstairs, but at the end of the day, this is a business, so they have to make the tough decisions, and my job is just to go out there and play my best. But it would mean a lot just to get that confirmation from them and just really send a message that they trust me to lead this team and be the quarterback for the Bears.
Brooke, I have waffled on this, but I've made my decision, and I've decided that if I'm the Bears, I'm going to trade Justin Fields and use the top pick in the draft on a quarterback that I like. I was one who thought they should keep Fields and build around him, but I've evolved, and here's why. Every quarterback gets paid. Daniel Jones got paid $82 million guaranteed through 2026. He led them to the playoffs once, but after 4 years, we know he wasn't going to become elite. The Eagles paid Carson Wentz. The Titans took care of Ryan Tannehill. The Raiders paid Derek Carr. We knew all those guys weren't going to a Super Bowl, right? But we all knew that in their third year. Do any of us think Fields is a Super Bowl quality quarterback? Conversely, Patrick Mahomes, Jalen Hurts, Brock Purdy, even Russell Wilson and Dak Prescott had at least proven they can win and play at a high level by the end of their third year. Fields has a career completion percentage of 60%. That's where he's been his entire career. He has 40 touchdowns, 30 interceptions for his career. That ratio hasn't gotten any better. And the Bears are 10-28 when he starts. So why, when you have a number one pick in the draft that you don't have to pay for 4 years, would you even set yourself up to give Fields the same kind of deal that guys like Jones and Wentz and Tannehill and Kyler Murray got? You shouldn't. One other thing, Ryan Poles, he mentioned, Justin Fields mentioned him, the Bears general manager. He was the Chiefs director of scouting when they drafted Patrick Mahomes. So if the Bears take Caleb Williams or Drake May and move Fields, I'd be okay with that if I'm a Bears fan.
Yeah, I also have been flip-flopping about this because I think we've talked about it all season that it wasn't the best situation for Justin Fields to be in. And you question the coaching, you question all the other things surrounding it. But at this point, and that's what we're talking about, a lot of the quarterbacks that you saw this weekend, I even think about Tua this weekend in that Bills and Dolphins game. I think that with the way that things went this weekend, you were able to see a lot of quarterbacks where you're looking at how they handled things in very clutch situations. Justin Fields knew what was on the line with this game. I think that they really were going to look at this to determine how they would go. And you mentioned the money factor, Randy. Outside of that, that's going to be the biggest thing, right? Because he would be owed quite a bit of money. Actually, a good sum of money, I believe.
You'd have to give him at least Daniel Jones type money.
Exactly. And so that's a lot of money. And if everybody is saying that Caleb Williams is going to be a once-in-a-generational type player, I can't see many GMs passing up on that opportunity.
No, that's where I've come down on this.
Third down.
Staying with the young quarterback theme, first-year starter, Jordan Love has something special going with the Packers. The Packers were able to take down Justin Fields and the Bears this past weekend, and this is just such an exciting team to watch because of Jordan Love, the way that he's been able to progress since November. So we're talking about how important that these games are in November and December and now going into January. 20 touchdowns with just 2 interceptions, Randy, from November on.
Amazing.
I think that says a lot about his growth. We talked about how he is a better quarterback with Aaron Jones in the backfield. You can tell that, but it feels like everything's just clicking at the right time for the Packers. And they're another team that they're doing things the right way. You know that the NFL is a quarterback league, so they find a way to properly develop, and you have to give them a lot of credit for evaluating talent because Jordan Love looks like a great quarterback right now, and you're excited for this young Packers team and the way that they're able to do this. I wasn't expecting them to do that this season. I don't know if many people were, honestly. You were hoping that, but I don't think anybody had the expectations with such a young team where you're turning the page into a new era that they would be able to accomplish this. And I sent you this stat last night, but I thought this was interesting. And Jordan Love finishes the regular season with 4,159 passing yards, 32 passing touchdowns. The other quarterbacks in the NFL history to exceed that in their first season as a full-time starter, Patrick Mahomes and Kurt Warner.
He's something. And I guess the Packers do have it figured out. I'm trying to think of teams that have had 3 consecutive really good quarterbacks. And
my gosh.
Love is showing that ability.
Especially for that length of time.
Right. Favre, Rodgers, Love. I think you can go back to Montana, Young, Jeff Garcia. But, Matthew, if you think of it, weigh in here because Love looks like he's the real deal and making the playoffs. And you mentioned youngest playoff team since at least 1978. And I won't be surprised. I know Dallas has been great at home, but the guy doesn't turn the ball over. I won't be surprised at all and we know Mike McCarthy's playoff history. I won't be surprised at all if Green Bay goes in there and knocks off Dallas.
You're saying there's a history there of the Cowboys getting bounced early on?
Yeah.
But also, when I was talking about C.J. Stroud, and I think the mark of a good a quarterback, or a good tell that is for a good quarterback, is the way that they're able to elevate the people around him. I think Jordan Love also does that when you're mentioning that young group. But also in that moment, that is a huge moment for the Packers. You know what's on the line. Jordan Love, he definitely appreciates the weight of the moment, but he didn't let it get too big for him. And I think that's another good marker for a good quarterback.
Okay, you can pay for the next 4 years and give somebody the Daniel Jones contract, $82 million guaranteed, 4 years, $160. I'm giving your choice of Love or Fields to pay.
Oh, Love.
Me too.
100%.
I'm that way too.
Yeah.
Yep. All right, it's time for
Fourth down.
And Brooke, sometimes good teams fall off over the course of time, and sometimes they turn bad in an instant. The Eagles have turned bad in an instant, and I think I might know why and when. After going to the Super Bowl last year, they obviously started 10-1 this year, and after beating Buffalo in overtime to get to 10-1, they were crushed at home by the 49ers, 42-19, and they've won one game since. The following week, Philly, after the loss to the 49ers, Philly allowed 33 to Dallas. They demoted defensive coordinator Sean Desai and promoted Matt Patricia, and the defense has been just as bad. Yesterday, the Eagles allowed one of the worst offenses in recent memory, the Giants, to put up 27 points and 415 yards. This is the Giants, people. Seems like the desperation of promoting Patricia was called for, but I'm guessing the real moment the Eagles fell off the cliff was when the Cardinals hired Philly defensive coordinator Jonathan Gannon as their head coach. We just didn't know it at the time, but when the Eagles lost Jonathan Gannon, they lost their mojo.
Yeah. Randy, for the past few weeks, I've been talking about the Eagles defense, and I don't think that it's a good thing that when you demote Sean Desai and then you promote Matt Patricia, of all people, and things have just gotten worse since then defensively for the Eagles. I don't know what else you can say at this point for them, and where do they go from here? The way that they have just collapsed, I think it's just been so shocking to see it happen in this way.
I would like to know what people see when they look at the resume of Matt Patricia that makes them think that their team or their unit is going to be better if they put him in charge.
And the fact that you promoted him.
Yeah, right. You know the guy.
That was Sirianni who did that. So at this point, Brady, what do you think? What happens? Is Sirianni in the hot seat? Is this something that they should be looking at?
It's interesting because Matthew was looking at a poll this morning on WIP.
WIP, 60% once thinks Sirianni should be fired.
As we get ready for the playoffs, 60% of their people after an 11-6 season.
11-6,
yeah.
Which that's what makes you feel crazy talking about that, right? Is that they are 11-6 and 11-6, and they are going to the playoffs. But it's just the drop off that you have seen as of late is very shocking, because I don't know how you explain that.
Now, hold on. They're being very reasonable. They have a lot of clips of Sirianni looking angry on the sidelines throughout the season, proving that he has lost the team.
I think he always looks like that. I think he just has that face.
One of the players talked to him after he yelled at the player, and obviously, as we know, just off lip reading, obviously it was a very negative reaction by everyone involved, and the player doesn't respect
everybody's
it.
a lip
And
reader
the player doesn't respect Sirianni anymore. I pulled that from the one clip I saw.
And I totally get where they're coming from in terms of looking angry on the sidelines, because I remember as a kid watching, like how crazy Tom Landry would go when the Cowboys would score a touchdown, and he'd be fist pumping and laughing and joking when things were going good, and then he would be like screaming at people. Tom Landry would be screaming at people when things were going bad. I remember that, so yeah, I can see why they would feel that way.
Yeah, you got to watch out for that. You know, some people also just they call it resting bee face.
Yeah,
some people just have that.
Yeah. So. There's never been a coach in the NFL that looked angry on the sideline and succeeded.
No.
Because that means you lost the team, Brooke.
Yeah, that 100%.
By the way, y'all freaked out and fired the coach who actually won y'all a Super Bowl. And how's that been going for you since?
Yeah.
You happy? You feel good?
And the other guy who has won a couple and been to 3 after you fired him, so, yeah.
Also, I believe after a winning season.
Yeah. Couldn't wait to get rid of him.
Wow.
Pretty wild. That's 4 downs from the NFL. Coming up, get your text in to the Air Comfort Service text line, 314-399-9646, 314-399. Yo-ho! Take it or leave it. Coming your way on 101 ESPN.
take it. If you don't, send it right back.
Get your text into 314-399-9646 and give us your take it or leave it.
Brought to you by Gloria Lou Realty. Visit GloriaHasTheBuyers.com and start packing.
That's my final offer. Take it or leave it.
With Brooke Grimsley and Matthew Rocchio, I'm Randy Carricker. It is time for Tioli here on 101 ESPN. We have the pregame for the National Championship football game tonight, 5:30 here on 101 ESPN. Michigan taking on the Washington Huskies. And Brooke, take it or leave it. Regardless of what happens tonight, by Friday, Jim Harbaugh will be an NFL head coach.
Ooh.
Oh, you know what? I don't know if the NFL can do that now. But by the end,
regardless of the result,
by the start of next season, Jim Harbaugh will be an NFL coach.
Oh, I was thinking about this weekend, if it would matter to him if they won or not. But I just feel like the decision's already made at this point. I'm going to take it. I think he's going to go to the NFL.
I think he is too.
It just makes sense. It makes too much sense.
Right. And I think there's a new rule in the NFL that you have to wait to interview coaches. So to comply with the Rooney Rule, for example, the Chargers wouldn't be able to interview enough people to take care of those requirements before hiring Harbaugh this week.
And the Chargers job specifically, I think that would be too appealing for him to pass up.
I think so too.
It makes a lot of sense. And there's a lot of other job openings, but then when you hear everything that with the Chargers and what they have, that just seems like the perfect situation for him.
It really
does. Former Cardinal, take it or leave it, former Cardinal Dakota Hudson, he signed with the Rockies this weekend. Take it or leave it. That might not be the best place for him to play.
I will take that. Yes.
I was trying to be nice about it. I was going to try to put it in nicer words, but I don't know what else to say. Coors is not exactly pitcher friendly.
Well, and there isn't a worse organization in baseball.
You know, they put a lot into that, but still, I was very surprised. So maybe
probably his only offer. And here's the thing: they have all the equipment in Denver that everybody else has, and their minor league systems have all the analytics equipment and the TrackMan and stuff like that. Apparently nobody knows how to use it, so it's a real problem for the Rockies. Yeah,
a lot of problems
so
there, huh?
I have a nephew that pitched in their organization, and he had come from the Yankees, and there was another kid that came from the Nationals, and I think they were at AA, and they've got all this great new equipment, but the coaches had no idea how to use it. Well, these two kids, especially my nephew, who've been in the Yankees organization where they have all of this stuff, he was teaching coaches and other players how to use their equipment in the Colorado organization.
Oh.
Yeah, it was not good.
And that's not cheap. That equipment's not cheap.
No, and maybe Dakota Hudson knows enough. Maybe he can teach people. He's a nice guy.
He is very nice.
Maybe he can teach people how to use it. And maybe that sinker will come back. Maybe he'll be the new Pedro Estacio.
Hey, you never know.
Yeah.
Never say never.
I'm not going to say never. I'm just going to say probably never.
Probably.
Unlikely.
Yeah, Matthew, what do you got?
Take it or leave it. Eric Bieniemy becomes the head coach of the Commanders.
Leave it.
Ooh.
No, I think Josh Harris wants to go big. And my guess is, growing up a fan of Bill Belichick, I would think that he'll look in on Belichick and maybe offer a trade for Belichick. But I think that Josh Harris is going to try to go big here. I wouldn't be surprised if they go after Harbaugh either.
You know what? Here's the trade. You give to the Patriots for Belichick. Like Josh Dotson, because here's the thing, you got to get rid of any good wide receivers before Belichick gets there. And the Patriots obviously have none.
Good point.
So I think that's the trade.
Yep.
I'm not sure what you do with Curtis Samuel and Terry McLaurin. Those guys are
they're other places for them.
Yeah, you trade them obviously.
And trade them for picks and then let Belichick use the draft picks on receivers.
Or tight ends.
Yeah. Jacoby Myers and, it's...
AJ Jenkins.
Yeah, they actually, he spends money on tight ends,
That's
and
true,
then they
right?
regress.
Yeah. Sounds like
Jonnu
good
Smith,
formula.
your old friend Jonnu Smith.
There you go.
Yeah, there you go.
Hunter Henry. Hunter Henry was pretty good tight end before he got
Former
to
Razorback.
Take it or leave it. The Blues really need to win 4 out of the next 7 games to stay in playoff talk.
I'm going to leave it because there's so much time left.
Yeah, there's so much time left.
But
I'm going to leave it too.
If they win 4 out of the next 7, I'm like, I have a different view of this team, not just like as a sneak in the playoff team. Like I have a different view of like the base of this team and where they're going over the next 2 years.
Oh yeah,
if they win the next 4 out of the next 7, like it changes my opinion of this team in a way.
Would you guys be happy with 4 points out of the next 8 against the Panthers, Rangers, Bruins, and Flyers. Would you take 4 out of 8 points there?
Yeah.
And then after that, you've got a home-and-home with Washington, and you've got Calgary. So you've got a really good chance, once you get out of this gauntlet, of winning those 3. You should beat Washington is bad right now, and you should beat them and should be able to handle Calgary on the road, granted. But I would say, 4 out of 7. If the Blues win 4 out of their next 7, they'll be in really good shape because their schedule does soften up considerably after the next 4.
What is their home record this season? I'm going to see if I can find it.
It's not great.
No.
But we'll be,
yes.
We've been better under the new head coach. 12-6 at home.
Okay. Not terrible, but not great.
Take it or leave it. The Blues could win a round 1 playoff series with this squad.
Depends on who they play, but yes.
Goaltending, baby.
Yep. Yeah, you get Binner hot.
Yeah.
So if you would play.
I'm going to take it just because there has been a lot of other weird things that have happened in the NHL this season. And I always think about Colorado and how tough they are, but the way that the Blues actually handled them recently was encouraging. And I know that things changed towards the end there, but still, I found that pretty encouraging.
Top team in the West right now is Winnipeg. If the Blues would be the last wild card team, heck yeah, the Blues could beat Winnipeg. All due respect. Yeah, the Blues could beat them.
Take it or leave it. The Jaguars have a decision to make. Trevor Lawrence is playing a lot like Justin Fields.
I am going to leave that.
Yeah.
Trevor Lawrence has led his team to the playoffs and to the edge of the playoffs this year. And I'm convinced that he's going to have surgery. I think he probably played the last 5 or 6 games hurt.
Oh, yes, 100%. I think that's been a big part of why the Jags have suffered here recently is because of that.
Yeah, so I'm going to leave that. Any decision they make will be how much they give him, but they love Trevor Lawrence in Jacksonville.
Yes, and I'm going to have to leave it too just because of that. But Justin Fields, where do you think he would fit in?
Atlanta.
Oh, yeah. Good call.
Put him in the read option with Bijan.
Yeah, good call. Yeah, that'd be a great spot for him. And let's see, you look around the league, probably not in the AFC East. Well, the Patriots, depending on who their head coach is. Not going to be in the North. They've got their guys. What about, I guess Levis is there in Tennessee. What about Denver? Would Sean Payton like Justin Fields?
Here's my thing about Sean Payton.
Raiders?
Commanders. Somebody texted in Commanders.
Yep, that'd be a good spot. They're desperate for a QB.
How does Fields work in a timing offense like that? Like Payton's?
60% completion. Yeah, it's not.
He likes to hold on to the ball and find and move a little bit. Not necessarily like move out of the pocket, like Russell Wilson, like kind of movement where it's within the pocket to kind of extend the play and then get the throw off after he's kind of made his second or third read. I just don't think he's got the speed and the timing to really operate Peyton's offense.
Would Pete Carroll like him? He fell out of love with Wilson, but seems like Seattle would be another spot.
Yes.
Oh, just throw it off the DK, baby. Just throw it off the DK all day. Yeah, I Seattle's a good spot. Yeah,
there's lots of options. So I mean, this could definitely change the story for Justin.
Oh yeah.
Take it or leave it. Dennis Allen has completely lost control of his team. He said that the play call was the kneel, and the players called an audible to run up the score.
I'll take it. But you never say no to your offensive line.
That's true.
And the offensive line wanted to get Williams a touchdown. And whoever you are, whether you're a quarterback, running back, receiver, coach, you don't say no to your offensive line.
No.
So good for them. Good. They wanted to take care of a teammate. I would like that if I were Dennis Allen. I would like
it too. And I loved what Jameis said afterwards. That was hilarious. Yeah, that was.
I know Atlanta thought it was, well, hell, their coach got fired. Big deal.
But here's the thing. You're not supposed to be doing anybody any favors. You're supposed to be winning the game. And the final score is the final score. Either way, he was going to get fired, don't you think?
Oh, yeah, he was.
Regardless.
Yeah. And you know what? One of the worst.
With Arthur Smith, yeah.
Not one of the worst, but one of the things that you actually like to do. I get that they wanted to have Williams score a touchdown, but I remember when the Rams beat the Niners here, ended in the 17-game winning streak. They beat them 42-20, and the Rams were so happy to show mercy on the Niners by kneeling at the 1-yard line at the end of the game. It's kind of insulting.
It is.
It's even better.
I think it is more insulting.
You don't give your enemy the actual like You don't actually kill him. You let him just know he failed.
Yeah, we don't want to do any more to you. We don't want to do any more. We've done enough.
Oh,
That's more embarrassing.
Look at the way the script has flipped, baby.
Yeah, exactly.
Same old sorry-ass Niners.
Yep.
Take it or leave it. Steve Wilkes deserves another head coaching job.
I'll take that.
I'll take it.
Yeah, he's done a really good job with the Cardinals that 1 year, one and done. That was unfair that they let him go. And then last year as the interim in Carolina. So absolutely. Thank you, Matthew.
Thank you, Randy.
Coming up here on 101 ESPN, Cardinals got another thing they desperately needed. Is there more in the tank for Mo this offseason? That's next on 101 ESPN.
day's top stories. It's the Opening Drive's Fresh Take.
It's 8:06 in St. Louis. Your time check brought to you by Clarkson Jewelers, an officially licensed Rolex jeweler. Brooke Grimsley, Randy Carricker, and the Cardinals with another thing that Brooke, I think they desperately needed, and I think we're in agreement here. In that trade for Andrew Kittredge, they trade for the 34-year-old and give up Richie Palacios, but Kittredge, a guy with an 18-7 career record, 3.65 ERA in 7 seasons, had an all-star season, and in that year, 57 games, a 1.88 ERA a couple of years ago. He has great stuff, and we wanted a guy who is good, has pitched on winning teams, has experience in winning. This guy was with that World Series team with the Rays, and can be a source of knowledge and hopefully comfort for the young relievers on this Cardinal team. I think the Cardinals checked a lot of boxes with the trade for Andrew Kittredge.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense because we've been talking about how this bullpen, it felt like they needed another veteran presence in there to really round out this group. Now you add in Andrew Kittredge, which we're going to talk about his 2021 season, which was fantastic prior to his Tommy John surgery. And if you do want to look at some positives, things that to like about the trade, one, the veteran presence, two, that 2021 season, and he did have Tommy John, but the fact that he was able to come back late last season and you were at least able, if you look at the numbers, get back to somewhat of form after having Tommy John, I think that that's encouraging. He came back in August, I believe, for the Rays. So those are some positives there, and he's another medium to high leverage arm that you need in your bullpen. We talked about some of the guys who were a part of this bullpen where you had some question marks. Now you add in some more depth where you aren't as worried about if it's a high leverage situation. Are we really going to have to go to Andre Pallante all the time? While Andre Pallante maybe hopefully figures it out this offseason and continues to grow, you have Kittredge now available. And I feel like it just really helps round out the bullpen. Now, maybe some things to give you pause would be anytime that you talk about the Rays and a trade that involves an outfielder, that's where everybody, whoa, what do the Rays know about this player that we don't know, right? Because it feels like they do a good job of this. But at the same time, the Rays also do not like to pay their players. And so it makes sense. This is just what they typically do, where they try to flip guys, especially a pitcher. And the other thing that gives me pause is, of course, the Tommy John surgery, and he's turning 34. Now, what are your feelings on that? Is that something that you think is concerning? Because I've seen a sample size of pitchers, what it's like after they return from Tommy John, but you've seen a lot more than I have. What are some of the good and bad of pitchers coming back from Tommy John? And he is a reliever, so I do think that helps.
It seems to be now that after one Tommy John surgery, players come back with a pretty successful percentage of success. Now, Brad Thompson was never the same after his, but most guys now, and we're now 14 years removed from BT having his, the surgery seems to have become so routine and the rehab has become so routine, everybody knows how to rehab it, that I don't think it's an issue anymore. I really think that players understand what they're going through now because it is such a routine in coming back. And he came back, spent all the time, and apparently his velocity was actually better last year when he came back, which happens. It's hard to throw hard when you have a torn UCL, right? And so he was healthy and it feels good. I really think that the reason that Tampa Bay made this move at this time is because he's going to be a free agent. And they know that they can't keep him around. And they also are really good at finding pitchers and turning them into effective relievers. And they've got, if they have 8 relievers, they have 8 different looks that they're giving you. Guys with obviously different arms, left or right, but then different arm angles and motions that they provide you. They do a great job of never giving you the same look twice in Tampa Bay. So they'll find a decent replacement at a good price for Andrew Kittredge, but the guy that they've already developed and have ready, that's what the Cardinals need. Yes,
they need guys who are ready, and that veteran presence is something that you need in the bullpen. And because of the Tommy John surgery, he's only pitched 31 innings over the span of the past 2 seasons. So when you hear that, you start to get concerned. But then if you do look at his numbers when he returned back, just that little sample size, it was encouraging after Tommy John. So hopefully it all works out. And I know that that's very triggering when I say hopefully, because nothing is ever guaranteed, especially when it comes to pitchers. But this is a move that makes sense. And the fact that with Richie Palacios, you guys know, big fan of Richie Palacios. He's great personality. I felt like he brought a lot of that personality that was just needed. We talked about how it was just a team full of Boy Scouts last season, and Richie brought that flair, that swag that you just kind of miss. And he was about the only exciting thing to watch towards the end of the Cardinals season after things were just already imploding. And the fact, though, that the Cardinals were able to essentially, it was one good month from him. Also, numbers that if you look at him prior, those were not normal numbers for him of what he was able to do offensively. And he was very versatile defensively as well. But the fact that they were able to turn one good month into this trade into another need, I think you have to be happy with the trade.
One set of numbers that does jump out to me here with Kittredge is that in that 2021 All-Star season, he had 57 appearances. 24 of those appearances were longer than an inning, and 12 of those 24 were 2 full innings. And then the previous year, he only did that 4 times out of his 17 starts appearances before his injury. And last year, as they were working him back, obviously, we didn't see a single one of those appearances. They were all an inning or less. And I'm not saying that's crazy for the Rays. I'm just wondering, is that something that he's going to be able to do again, which is those 2 inning appearances, those 1.2s? Is that something that he's going to be able to do again 3 years removed from consistently doing it and being 2 years removed from doing it at all? That's my big question, because that's the kind of reliever that the Cardinals haven't had over the last 2 years, and it's been problematic.
Here's my thought process there. Number one of the reasons that they signed the 3 pitchers that they signed is to give them innings and prevent them from needing a reliever to go 2 innings. Yeah. You should be able to, on more nights than not, have your setup be that you have 3 innings and 9 outs to get from your bullpen. The other part of this is with Oli Marmol, he really, aside from certain guys, hasn't shown that propensity. I don't know that the Cardinals will need that from Kittredge, because their 6th starter is going to be at the major league level, whether it's Matz or Thompson, right? So to me, that should be your multi-inning reliever.
100%. And we're already getting some texts in, Randy, where I brought up the concerns about we've been here and done that with the Rays. Someone from the 314 said, I don't care how good the guy may have been while he was in Tampa. I don't like trading with the Rays because I always feel like they screw the Cardinals.
Well, in one trade they have, right? I'm trying to think of the other ones that have happened with the Rays. Tino Martinez, that actually worked out well for the Cardinals. They had to pay part of his salary, but he didn't wind up being great. I'm not remembering a lot of trades with the Rays that the Cardinals have had. So
I think the Randy Rosarita thing will always bite you.
Yeah.
In that sense.
Yeah, but you just can't make that judgment. I know it's hard because of that one deal, but you can't make that judgment with one trade.
Prior to that, it was pretty much only it was Tino Martinez and it was Tommy Pham.
Okay, yeah, and Tommy Pham, actually, you got Genesis Cabrera out of that, right?
Yeah, Genesis Cabrera, yeah. I mean, those are the only real, and then you have the Ozuna trade. Not the Ozuna trade, the pitchers going there. Those are the only trades.
Yeah, so not too bad. One other note here, by the way, about Andrew Kittredge, and we mentioned this earlier, but I think it's worth noting.
Of course.
Because the Cardinals do have a rather God-fearing clubhouse, and Andrew Kittredge grew up with a great deal of faith, and when he was a kid, Brooke, he went to church twice every Sunday. So that's
doubly blessed.
Yeah, he's got that going for him, which is nice.
Doubly blessed.
I thought going to church 3 times a week was a lot growing up, but twice in the same day that's a lot.
Yeah,
twice a day.
Yep.
3 times a week.
Yeah, I'd rather go 3 times a week than twice a day.
It makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense as to why this works out.
He'll be a great fit here from that standpoint as well.
Yes.
So good for the Cardinals. Good get for the Redbirds, at least in my opinion. It's not terrible.
No, it makes sense to me.
Yeah,
it makes sense.
Sensible move. Yeah.
Yes.
Coming up, we're going to talk to Chris Kerber here on the opening drive on 101 ESPN. Hey, you might be driving home. We're going to have rain over the course of the next couple days, and you drive home and you look up at your gutters and there's water coming over the edge of your gutters and they're rusted. You need to get new gutters, and you need to get in touch with my friends at Gutter Pros. Gutter Pros does magnificent work here in St. Louis for people with both residences who need guttering and people that have commercial needs as well. And a lot of times, a home builder is going to build your home with 5-inch gutters. They aren't big enough, folks. You need 6-inch gutters, and that's what Gutter Pros will tell you about. They'll come out. They'll provide you a free estimate. They aren't going to pressure you. They aren't going to say, hey, if you take this deal today, you can get X amount of deal. No, they aren't a high pressure. They're a low pressure company, and their sales manager is going to come out, and he knows St. Louis, and he's going to take a look at your home, and he's going to give you the best idea and the best plan for your home so that you can have new gutters. And by the way, you can get leaf guard and you can get soffit and fascia done. They do great work. 4.9 out of 5 stars on their reviews. A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau. All you need to do is go to gutterpros.com, Gutter, gutterpros.com, to work with a great St. Louis company that will make your house so much better and enhance the value of your home. It's gutterpros.com.
Blues Chris Kerber, brought to you by Scott Lee Heating Company, a proud Mitsubishi Electric Elite contractor.
Randy on the opening drive on 101 ESPN, and we go to the celebrity line now. Our friend, the voice of the Blues, Chris Kerber, joins us. He's back from Carolina, where the Blues came away with a 2-1 shootout victory over the Hurricanes. Kerbs, good morning. How you doing?
Randy, I'm good this morning. How are you?
We're doing well, and this team is playing great, aren't they?
You know what? They're playing as a team. They're finding a way to win some close games. They're in a stretch of hockey, Randy, where 8 of the 9 games that they are playing are against teams that are 1, 2, or 3 in their respective divisions. Now, every one of them, until you get to Philadelphia at the end of this homestand, is top 2, for obviously Pittsburgh, who they lost to. But against Dallas, Colorado, Vancouver, and Carolina, those are first or second place teams in their division, and they've gone 3-1. So, 6th time this season, they've climbed themselves back to 3 games over 500. It's going to be a tough task against Florida tomorrow to get to that elusive 4-game mark over 500 as an overall record, but they're there. So tied with the Edmonton Oilers in the standings, for the second wild card spot, although Edmonton has 2 games in hand and have been the best team in the league really since Thanksgiving. I think they're 15-3. There's a lot going on, but they're keeping themselves in the battle.
Kerbs, we're going to call you right back. We've got something going on with our phone line or your phone line, so we're going to call Chris Kerber right back, and we'll get him back. By the way, the Blues tomorrow night with a 6 o'clock pregame against the aforementioned Panthers, 7 o'clock faceoff, and then on Thursday night, you've got the Rangers in town. That's a 6 o'clock pregame, 7 o'clock faceoff, and then Saturday night, the Bruins. And so you've got the team with, I had it here, the 2 teams with the tied for the most points in the league, Rangers and Bruins, and the Panthers are in the top 5 in the league. So it's going to be a tough go for the Blues here in terms of the schedule that they're playing.
Yes, 100%. Do you think at this point, Drew Bannister, with what he's been able to do, that he has really almost secured this job in a sense?
It's a great question. I don't know. Chris Kerber is back with us.
Is he back? Kerbs, would you like to weigh in on that one?
Yeah, you'll have to. They put me on about halfway through that, so you've got to catch me up.
Of course. We were just talking about how encouraging it is, the way that the Blues are performing under Drew Bannister. At what point do you think, especially during this, we're talking about that tough stretch of games, do you think that there's anything that maybe Army will see here that will say, yes, we need to take that interim tag off of Drew Bannister?
Yeah, you know what? I would say, of course. You know, if you continue to play well against these top teams and how the second half of the season goes, you know, I don't. When I'm referring to Drew Bannister on the air and these things, I don't know if I should be doing, you know, the interim tag or not. I've never said interim, and the reason is because a head coach, unless you know it's like really short term, like, you know, if you had that Jimmy Roberts fill-in, right, or that Bobby Plager fill-in. To me, the guy's the head coach of the team until he's not the head coach of the team. So he's got the opportunity right now that nobody else does, and that is to try to get this team to perform to certain levels, to get this team to perform to expectations of the general manager, to hold the accountability factor and those other things that Doug Armstrong is looking for. He's got the best opportunity now because at the moment he's got the job. So I don't know how that'll all play out, Brooke, but yeah, every time he gets a win against big teams like this, you know, and I was saying, I know we were having some bright issues there apparently on the phone line in that first question, but if you know, while the team has not hit that 4-game over 500 mark this season, they have played 4 games over 500 under Drew Bannister. So it's just how you climb to it and keep yourself in it to play meaningful games. And right now, I've got to think that he's done a job that Doug Armstrong's got to be pretty happy with.
Kerbs, we've always expected since Robert Thomas arrived on the scene that he would be at least a point-a-game guy. He's got 41 points in 38 games. He's made his way to the All-Star game. Last week, Drew Bannister talked about how happy he is with his defense. And it's interesting because Robert has ascended. This has been a process. It's not an event. But Robert Thomas is a legit all-star. He is a really, really good player now in the NHL, isn't he?
Randy, he's not just a legit all-star. He's a legit candidate for the Selke Trophy. And the good news for all these forwards that are vying for the Selke Trophy, Bergeron is gone.
Right.
You know, so and Bergeron earned it, but it's also a bit of a reputation award, and it can be a hard group to jump into. And if you look at what Robert Thomas's numbers look like right now, they actually pace out to be better than what Ryan O'Reilly's numbers were when Ryan O'Reilly won the Selke in that 18-19 season. He's part of your top penalty killing. He's part of your top power play, which probably we shouldn't brag about at the moment. You know, and he is getting those minutes. And on a team that's fighting to find consistency, he's over a point a game. He's been elite. And I said this in one of my takeaways of the last Kerbside podcast after that game in Carolina. There's more to get from his line mates. There's a lot more to get in terms of consistency in play from Jordan Kyrou, and there's more consistency to get from Pavel Buchnevich. And Pavel Buchnevich, after that Carolina game, was even saying that that Robert Thomas should be in the Selke consideration. So imagine where his numbers could be if the power play was going, or if there was just a little more consistency with two line mates there, and his season would look even better. But yeah, he's moved himself into, and then most importantly, guys, look at how his matchups in the last 5 games against these tough opponents. The Blues are not letting the other team's top players smoke them, and that's part of the process.
Well, Kerbs, I also wanted to ask you about this weekend, and we were talking about this earlier, the World Junior Championship, where you have Team USA winning gold. Your reaction to that, of course, Jimmy Snuggerud being a part of it, but really the representation from the Young Blues, 7 players across the board in the World Juniors. What did you make of that, all that future and talent that you have coming up?
Well, it's a best-on-best tournament for those that may not understand what the World Juniors are. And it's a lot bigger in other countries and around the world than it is here in the United States in terms of the landscape and in front of mind of sports fans. But it's a best-on-best for the junior age players, those 18-year-old players. And when you see the Blues prospects performing better than most at that level, that's a really good sign. A lot of players that play in the NHL, that are impactful in the NHL, have played in this tournament, and to have 7 players in it, and then pretty much all 7 have their teams do something and play a big role for their teams was really impressive. Jimmy Snuggerwood was great. Otto Stenberg was great. Theo Lindstein and great. I mean, they had 3 players in that gold medal game. So whether these guys come in and impact the team next year, whether they go back to their respective schools or leagues and play in this tournament again next year, that remains to be seen. But it is a good news and a good sign that prospects that are coming along the way for the St. Louis Blues are performing that well on that kind of stage. That's something to be very excited about.
And Kerbs, you mentioned earlier the Kerbside podcast that you do after every Blues game, and you can find it at 101ESPN.com, and you can find it on the app. But, man, it's great. It's great information, and it's great kind of behind-the-scenes stuff that we don't always think about, and you're doing a great job with it.
Yeah, thanks, Randy. You know what we do? We just put we give everybody, like, it's basically like the post-game show for the next morning if you happen to miss the game or part of it, or maybe you missed the broadcast, which I can't imagine why anybody would. But if you do, it's just so you get up in the morning, and it's typically we got it up there. I try to get it up there by about 1 or 2 in the morning. But if it's by 6 a.m. for sure, and it's just a way to hear highlights and some opinion. We always have Joe Vitale's breakdown and some other opinions and locker room sound from the game the night before. So just a good, simple 15, 20-minute way to get caught up on something you might have missed. And I know that you share my just major hurt this morning for Bill Belichick. I don't even know what to do. I've been distraught. And I'm just going to go make some scrambled eggs and try to put it into perspective.
All right, Kerbs. Have a great day, and we'll talk to you later. Have a great week.
All right, thanks.
Thanks, man.
Thank you.
Yep. See you later. That's our friend Chris Kerber on 101 ESPN. Coming up, we've got the fight. Matthew, you need a fighter?
Yep.
We need a fighter.
As
so you
always.
can text in 314-399-9646, 314-399-YOHO with your name and the word fight. Text us, and maybe you will fight me next on 101 ESPN. Hey, it's Randy, and this message is for you if you're a possible home seller. If you need a reliable, experienced, and trusted agent, take it from me and get to know Gloria Liu with your home sold guaranteed realty. And here's why you should call. Because Gloria already has buyers for your home. That's pretty cool, isn't it? She's able to guarantee the sale of your home in writing because she already has buyers, thousands of them, from over 20 years in her exclusive database, and they're looking to buy in your neighborhood and in your price range. That's how Gloria nets you the most money and creates the highest demand, many times with multiple offers, and that means more money in your pocket. Gloria sells for more and sells faster when compared to other agents. She's not your average agent. Gloria Liu is St. Louis local real estate authority with 20 years of experience, hundreds of homes sold in just the past 12 months. And the only agent I'd trust to sell my home, call Gloria Lou at 314-325-6888. That's 314-325-6888. Or visit GloriaHasTheBuyers.com. Again, that's GloriaHasTheBuyers.com.
This is Rocky with your Sports Center update, brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling. The Blues over the weekend with a big 2-1 shootout victory over the Carolina Hurricanes. It was Braden Shen getting off the schneid with that shootout goal victory. Again, Blues 2-1 over the Hurricanes. They're back in action tomorrow, facing off against the Panthers here at Enterprise Center. It's a 7 p.m. puck drop. Means you can catch the pregame show right here on your home for the St. Louis Blues, 101 ESPN and 101ESPN.com. Also over the weekend, Mizzou not only losing to Georgia in basketball, but they're losing to LSU off the field in football as Baker, the defensive coordinator, leaves for LSU, signing a 3-year, $7.5 million contract to take the same job with the Louisiana State Tigers. That is your Sports Center update, brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling, an independent American standard heating and air conditioning dealer.
Welcome to the fight. In the red corner, Average Joe Listener. And in the blue corner, the undisputed king of morning drive. Please welcome Randy Carricker.
Welcome back to the opening drive. Brooke Grimsley here alongside Randy Carricker and Matthew Rocchio, and it is time for the fight. And we welcome in our fighter today, Steven. Steven, how are you doing this morning?
Doing great. How are you guys doing?
Doing great. I was listening to Rocc was asking you if it was Steven or Stefan. Do you get tired of that question?
No, I prefer people ask, but I was telling Rocchio that Stephen Curry's kind of ruined it for all the Stevens out there because
oh yeah,
I saw it with the PH, and So, yeah. But no, it's definitely Steven. Stephen, yeah, that makes my skin crawl.
I asked the question because my older brother is also a Steven with a PH, and he's same thing. And I, being a big Warriors fan, I'm a huge Steph Curry fan. My brother, on the other hand, completely hates the man, and so does the Steven we have on the phone today.
I didn't even think about how that would affect things, but you're right.
Spelling Steven with a PH is an old school thing, and then you teach everyone phonics, and now they're like, well, it's a Stephen then. It's like, God bless it. I imagine it's got to be exhausting, Steven.
Oh. Well, the other thing, too, is anytime you go to a restaurant and they ask your name, like, I just want one time you to have the courage to put a PH because they always put the V, and it's you chickened out.
Well, we're going to get right here, Steven. All right. Are you ready to take on Randy in the fight?
As ready as I'll ever be.
Okay, question number 1. On this day in 2000, the Titans pulled off the Music City Miracle with their trick play kickoff return victory. Who caught the kickoff before handing it off to Frank Wycheck, rest in peace, who would throw the crucial lateral? Was it Eddie George, Derek Mason, or Lorenzo Neal?
Lorenzo Neal.
Bruce Sutter set a new NHL, excuse me, that would be the Sutter brothers. Bruce Sutter in the NL set a new NL record for saves in 1984 with 45. Which future Cardinal would be the first to break that record with 47? Was that Jason Isringhausen, Lee Smith, or Jason Mott?
I'll go Izzy, Jason Isringhausen.
The last time the Huskies claimed a national championship was in 1991 when they finished number 1 in the coaches poll. Who finished number 1 in the AP poll and split the title with the Huskies? Was it Colorado, Miami, or Georgia Tech?
Oh, gosh. Let's go Miami.
All right, number 4. There were a number of franchise records for fastest goals broken over the weekend. Which Blues Stanley Cup winning forward set the franchise record with a goal just 8 seconds into a game? Was that Vladimir Tarasenko, Alexander Steen, or David Perron?
I'll go Steen, Perron, and who was the third?
Tarasenko.
Let's go Steen.
All right, we'll double check our scores and we'll bring in Randy Kerker.
All right, how are you feeling, Steven?
Not great.
Not great? Well, it seems like you seem pretty confident.
I know I got like 2 right, but that's where I draw the line.
Yeah,
the other 2 were guesses.
You rattled off Lorenzo Neal pretty quickly.
Oh, yeah, I knew that one.
Yeah, that one, we were talking about that earlier. It's hard to believe that it's been so long since that happened. Oh, Randy's back in here with his Propel.
Yep,
what is the flavor of the day?
Grape.
Oh, great.
It's a very grape-filled day for you today, huh?
Yeah,
grapes and grapes.
Yes.
You're very lucky. Remember, that's the New Year's tradition. Are you ready to take on?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
I just got a segment idea.
What?
Grapes and gripes. Randy just eats grapes while he complains about stuff.
Oh,
Our friend Kim Grant from our 2060 digital department, as I was eating my grapes in the hallway, said, "Oh, nature's candy," and it really is nature's candy, isn't it? Grapes.
Oh, and they have the cotton candy grapes too. Have you tried those? Those are delicious.
Yeah.
All right. Well, you are facing Steven today. Say hi to Steven, Randy.
Steven, good morning. How you doing?
Good morning, Randy. How you doing?
Doing well. Thanks for listening. Thanks for playing.
All right. You ready to take him on today, Randy?
Ready.
Question number 1. On this day in 2000, the Titans pulled off the Music City Miracle with their trick play kickoff return victory. Who caught the kickoff before handing it off to Frank Wycheck, rest in peace, who would throw the crucial lateral?
R.I.P. Yeah, Frank. Threw it to Derek Mason, right? But the original squib kick from the Bills was, I believe, picked up by number 41, Lorenzo Neal. And then Wycheck made his forward pass.
Bruce Sutter set a new NL record for saves in 1984 with 45. Which future Cardinal would be the first to break that record with 47?
I'm going to go with, let's see. Bruce did it in 84. Lee Arthur did have 47. Did anybody between Smith and Sutter have 47? Lee did it 1990-ish. A future Cardinal. And it was just a National League record?
Yes, sir.
Future Cardinal. I'm going to go with Lee Arthur Smith.
The last time the Huskies claimed a national championship was in 1991 when they finished #1 in the coaches poll. Who finished #1 in the AP poll and split the title with the Huskies?
I believe that DeMarco Farr says that his Huskies they were the only champions and that Miami did not deserve to be co-champions.
Okay. If you say so, DeMarco. Randy, there were a number of franchise records for fastest goals broken over the weekend. Which Blues Stanley Cup winning forward set the franchise record with a goal just 8 seconds into a game?
8 seconds into a game. I will break this down. I have a name in my mind, and if the name shows up in the lifeline, I'm going to take it. So go ahead.
Was that Tarasenko, Alexander Steen, or David Perron?
Okay, I was thinking Schwartzy. So Tarasenko, Steener, or David Perron. I will go with number 57, David Perron.
All righty, we have ourselves another tiebreaker after going multiple weeks without one. We're going to get our second in about 3 fights, I want to say. So we'll go through
back-to-back.
I believe, yeah, you might be back-to-back. You're right. Let's go through the rules really quickly. I'm going to read off the question. We are then going to give Randy Carricker a moment to write down his answer. Then we will give Steven a chance to say his answer audibly, and whoever is closest to the pin is going to be the winner of today's fight. Steven, do you understand those rules?
Yes, I do.
Randy, do you have a piece of paper?
I am getting one. I have a Lindenwood University piece of paper, and I have a pen. Let's see if the pen works. We're good to go.
All right. What is the
Sharpie?
Oh, okay.
Go ahead. No, I don't.
What is the highest team points total in Blues franchise history? What is the highest team points total in Blues franchise history, aka the points that the team got throughout the season with the whole point system that the NHL has? What is the highest team points total? Hold on a second, Stephen. We got to see what Randy Carricker wrote down.
I sees it.
All right, I see now from Randy Carricker. Stephen, what is your guess, sir?
I guess 117.
117 is the guess from Steven. Randy Carricker, what is your guess?
I said 114, man.
Randy Carricker guesses 114. Quick little math there, and we have a winner in today's fight. Let me pull out the calculator.
Probably no, you don't even need to do that, Rocc.
Do not Carrie Davis me on my math. No, the math was not that complicated. All right, let's go. Does Randy Carricker roll on with another victory, or does Steven stop the winning streak with an overtime win? Ring that bell.
The winner and still champion of the fight, Randy Carricker.
Oh, let me.
Yeah, well, being late to gloat is something else. I'm sorry, Steven. Randy Carricker hit the jack on the tiebreaker question. Randy Carricker, the highest team point total in Blues franchise history is
114. That was the
season?
President's Trophy winning team in 99-2000.
And there it is.
Crazy.
He hit it right on the jack. I'm so sorry, Steven. My tiebreakers need to get better, and that's on me. You did good, though.
Right.
You guys tied 3-3. It's hard to take Randy Carricker to a tie with 3 questions right, and you did it anyway. Let's go through those questions and the answers. On this day in 2000, the Titans pulled off the Music City Miracle, but was in fact Lorenzo Neal who caught the original kickoff. He then handed it off to Frank Wycheck, who then pulled off a legal lateral to Kevin Dyson for the win.
Illegal.
Now, Dyson. Now, Dyson, no other times in the playoffs would he be stopped short of a touchdown?
Oh. Okay.
So Bruce Sutter set a new
NL record
for saves in 1984 with 45. It was just 7 years later in 1991 when Lee Smith in a Cardinals jersey would put up 47. Jason Isringhausen and Trevor Rosenthal both have 47 in Cardinals history, but Lee Smith obviously beat them there by a little bit of time. The last time the Huskies claimed a national championship was 1991. It was the coaches poll where they were #1, but the AP poll did have the Miami Hurricanes #1 to the chagrin of DeMarco Farr. And a number of franchise records for fastest goals broken over the weekend. It's Alexander Steen who actually owns a share of the Blues' fastest goal in history at 8 seconds into a game back in 2010. So that was a 3-3 tie for Randy and Steven. And then, of course, the Blues' highest points total in franchise history, 114 in that 1999-2000 President's Cup winning season.
Clearly, I started watching that game too late.
Steven, thank you so much for joining the fight and joining the show today. That was really good.
All right, thanks, guys.
Thank you, Steven.
Appreciate it.
That's a really good joke for that question. I started watching that game too late.
That's the fight. Coming up, how much of a loss for Mizzou is defensive coordinator Blake Baker? That's next on 101 ESPN. So it's 33 degrees right now. If you walk upstairs in your home, is it cold up there? Well, if you have a two-story home and the second floor isn't getting as hot as the first floor, you need to get in touch with my friends at Hoffman Brothers Heating, Cooling, Electrical, and Plumbing. You can find them on the web at Hoffman Bros, HOFFMANN, hoffmanbros.com. And your Mitsubishi Electric heating and air conditioning dealer is going to come out, take a look to see what solutions are available to help better distribute heat to the second floor. And if you haven't done maintenance on your heating system yet, it's not too late. Get in touch with Hoffman Brothers today at hoffmanbros.com and set up an appointment, and they'll come out and they'll check your furnaces or your furnace to make sure that everything's good to go, and they can tell you how long it's going to last. They're going to provide a complete cleaning, and they're going to have you good to go for the really cold months in St. Louis to make sure that your furnace is perfect. And by the way, there are a lot of safety issues that can also arise, including carbon monoxide and gas leaks, by not properly getting your system maintained each year. So get it done. Make your appointment today with Hoffman Brothers at hoffmanbros.com, your Mitsubishi Electric heating and air conditioning dealer. here to make sure. 1 week from today is Martin Luther King Day, so we are off next Monday.
Really?
Yeah, we are. The bulletin flash apparently official. So there you go.
Wait, did he say that we're not? Did Ryder say we're not?
I'm getting a very, very demonstrative, large shake of the head from Mike Ryder, and it says, we will be here at 7 to 10 a.m. for your morning not driving to work.
I have a November 8th email from Brenda Smeeby, Vice President Human Resources, with the 2024 holidays. I guess that's different for us.
I'm being told to ask, did we work last year's MLK Day? And I believe we did.
I think we did. Okay. Hey,
Just kidding.
Yeah.
You got me excited for nothing. I was like, wow, another Monday off?
Oh, it would have been great. So Blake Baker leaves Mizzou for LSU, and don't get mad at Blake Baker for, going where his family is from. He's from Louisiana. His wife actually was an LSU athlete, and he took the money. There's nothing wrong. I know he said he was going to stay at Mizzou, but no coaches in college sports ever take the contract seriously. And by the way, generally the schools don't either. So he's just another defensive coordinator in college football, specifically in the SEC, that signed an extension and moved to the next job. My question is, how big of a deal is it really? If you have players, is losing Balake Baker that big of a deal? I mean, are you going to miss out because, yes, your offense or your defense was ascending, but he's going to go to LSU and get fired in 2 years?
You think that that's what's going to happen to him? Is that he's going to get fired in 2 years?
Yeah.
Well, I feel like that goes the same for anything, right?
It does.
I will say, I feel like you are allowed to be upset about this because he took Mizzou's defense from 113th ranked nationally back in 2021 to 25th this past season, and nobody forced him to put out all those quotes on social media that we saw.
That's a problem. Yeah.
And it was just a week ago. I read it to you guys last week where he had this beautiful quote about how he felt like there was unfinished business at Mizzou and that him and Eli Drinkwitz are really building something and how much even this means for his family. And then you hear the rumors and not even a day later he's gone. So I want to be a little bit upset. If I was a Mizzou fan, I'd be just a tad bit upset. I understand it is the way that things go, but you also are a tad upset because he said that. He said that he was going to stay, and it just happened so quickly like that.
At the end of the day, the unfinished business is money.
Of course.
Right? He can say unfinished business on the football field, but he should say unfinished goals, unreached goals. But the business part of this always takes precedence. And he was in at 1.9 at Mizzou, I believe, or they would have offered 1.9.
Yeah, the new number, I think.
They would have gone to 1.9. He's the highest paid assistant coach in college football.
But didn't you say that Mizzou wasn't that far off from offering him
according
that same
to
price?
Gabe DeArmond?
Yeah.
But people say that are close to the program that this was more than just the money that it was about.
Gabe originally said 300 more, and then obviously now we see 2.5 per. Mizzou was at 1.92. It's 500 more, which was the immediate reports afterwards. I also we're talking about it is business. I don't want to completely just erase the personal aspect of this one, which is the conversation that went on inside the Baker household where the wife played soccer at LSU.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Well, does she still play soccer for LSU? Why would that matter? Does she still? And that's concerning if he's married to a college athlete.
You play sport for a team, and you don't. He coached a lot in Louisiana. They have. It's just not just his wife. He has a lot of family ties.
It's all about the family.
It's a lot
family.
It's all about the family,
especially with Brian Kelly. Of course, why did he fire you from LSU if you had such a good connection to Louisiana?
Defensive coordinators always move around.
They do. Now, what about because somebody from the 636 texted this in, if defensive players transfer with him, that would hurt.
That would hurt. And
how likely do you think that will be? Because I think it's going to happen.
I think one of the reasons that Mekhi Wingo wound up at LSU is because Steeples was there, right? Mm-hmm. So I have to believe that there's a chance that could happen. But the most recent people that have committed to Mizzou are saying, I came because of Drink. And he's the one. So I think Eli Drinkwitz, it's incumbent upon Eli. And by the way, these players just signed their letters of intent within the last couple of weeks. Yeah. But he's got to recruit his own guys and make sure they're here and find a guy, another defensive coordinator that's attractive to what they want.
Well, if you say that it doesn't matter, if the piece of paper doesn't matter for the coaches, then does that letter of intent matter to the players?
By rule, it does. Yeah, that's the problem. Is Mizzou can hold. They have to at least be here a year before they would transfer out.
But I'm saying even with that allegiance, they can quickly change that.
They will.
And here's the narrative I think we need to snuff out. We got a text here from the 618. It's tough to see because all Mizzou fans know that any good coach they have will get paid more elsewhere and leave no matter how much success they have at Mizzou. Here's the thing. When you're getting beat out by money because the guy just got made the highest paid coach in the nation at that job, that's a dumb narrative. Like, sometimes you're going to lose to the guy being the highest paid at his position. That doesn't mean that Mizzou's out here with a paltry, Pac-12 level coaches pool. They got a pretty high assistant pool. That's why they were able to keep bumping up and giving these guys raises.
But here's why the narrative exists. Because Barry Odom at one point in his Mizzou existence was making a lot less than as a head coach than a lot of assistants were making, including both guys at LSU. By the way, both LSU coordinators were making more than Barry Odom as the head coach at Mizzou. But now Eli Drinkwitz is a top 10 paid coach in the whole country.
Yeah.
And he's going to be at least top 8 in the SEC. And they were willing to go pretty far. They bumped up more from to well over $1 million a year. They were ready to go well over $1 million a year for Blake Baker. And somebody else will come in and make more than $1 million a year too.
Yeah, and then also the money that they're putting forth for NIL, you have to give Mizzou a lot of credit for that.
And here's the other thing about this. Michigan's going to play in the championship game for the nation tonight. They're playing in their third straight college football championship playoff. Jim Harbaugh's on his 4th defensive coordinator in 9 years, and this is his 2nd defensive coordinator in those 3. Alabama's on their 5th defensive coordinator since 2015 right now. They played in 5 CFP title games, and they've won 2 with 5 different coordinators. Kevin Steele is on his 3rd stint on Nick Saban's staff. He's been a defensive coordinator at 5 different schools with 6 stops. Nothing to say that Blake Baker can't come back here. Jeremy Pruitt, you know him well.
Yes.
Best mask wearer ever, was the defensive coordinator at Florida State, Georgia, and Alabama. Will Muschamp has been the defensive coordinator at LSU, Auburn, Texas, and Georgia. And when you think about guys moving around, there are a lot of guys that have done, especially for whatever reason, SEC defensive coordinators that just bounce from school to school. And when you go to work for Brian Kelly, Balake has just joined that group. I fully expect that Eli Drinkwitz is going to be fine in terms of finding a defensive coordinator. And I like the fact that LSU has to come to Mizzou to get their next defensive coordinator.
You see, and that's the other point of this, is that if you weren't doing something well, then nobody would want any of your coaches. And think about it. Kirby Moore was even attached to some rumors about people scouting him out. This is his first year as the offensive coordinator for Mizzou. That tells you that a lot of people are recognizing what Mizzou is building, and they're wanting a piece of it. So you could look at that as a positive for sure.
That's Brooke. I'm Randy. Coming up, we've got our Rush Hour Reset. Plus, who do you like in the Natty tonight on 101 ESPN? Hey, one of my favorite places to go is the Fenton Bar and Grill, and there's so many great reasons. Number one is the atmosphere there, and the people that work there make the atmosphere so much fun. Megan and Kelly and Alicia and the whole gang. You'll love the crew that they have there. You'll love the fact that when you go to the Fenton Bar and Grill, you're going to be talking sports with all the other people, and they love the idea that you're coming in there to talk sports. They'll have the national championship game on TV tonight. It'll be fantastic, and they'll have specials throughout the game. It's a great place to go have food and drink. And if you want to go there for lunch today, go to the Fenton Bar and Grill, and you can have one of their great specials. And their weekly, daily specials are pretty amazing. I'm such a big fan of everything they have. Today, pork loin with mashed potatoes, brown gravy, and salad, or a vegetable of the day. When you have the cold weather like this, is that delicious. You can see the whole schedule of daily specials, and you can find out how to get there. You can find everything you need to know about the Fenton Bar and Grill at FentonBarandGrill.com. But when you go, tell them Randy sent you. It is time for the Rush Hour Reset at 9:03. Time check brought to you by Clarkson Jewelers, an officially licensed Rolex jeweler. Dan Dierdorf coming up in about 12 minutes. Brooke is here. Matthew is here. I'm Randy. And breaking news from St. Louis City SC, a new player has been acquired by City. Matthew, what do you got for us here?
St. Louis City have acquired 22-year-old Danish left back Nicholas Dier from Danish Super Club FC Midtjylland.
What was that?
Nicholas Dier. It's D-Y-H-R. I'm going to go with Dier or Dyer. It's gotta be one of those. It's gonna be
Dyer.
Like Dyer.
Dyer.
I don't know. Yeah. By the way, they got a left back, which is they got a left back, which is important because they greatly needed fullbacks.
Now that he's a member of St. Louis City SC, the rest of the league has to deal with dire circumstances.
Oh, yes.
And what if
he's Danish? You said he's Danish, right?
Yes, he is. He is Danish.
I love Danish pastries.
Me too. But here's the other thing, Brooke.
Yes.
If he's really, really good, is he our Great Dane?
Oh, we got a couple Danes.
Oh.
But is he our Great Dane? Is he big? Is he a big fella?
Is he a big fella?
Probably.
I'm gonna be real honest.
Big soccer players.
I don't know how to even type out his name.
D-Y-H-R.
Dyer.
D-Y-H-R, because I haven't seen it yet.
He is listed at 5'10".
Okay, so he's not as big as a Great Dane. Okay, good.
By the way,
that's tall.
Just
right?
some other little MLS news while we're on it. The last 2 weeks, St. Louis City no longer has the best goalie in the league.
Uh-oh.
Because LAFC went out and signed Hugo Lloris, who was the World Cup winning goalie from France.
Okay.
So, and he's been Tottenham's goalie for the last decade. Not great.
Well, that just means we need to get working harder to get Mbappe here.
There you go. You get one Frenchman, we get a better Frenchman.
Are you saying that other teams are trying to basically take a little bit of our playbook and trying to go and get some other
100%.
talent?
Because when St. Louis City spent the money they spent on Berkey, a lot of pundits said this is a waste of money. Goalies don't matter that much. They don't move the needle that much in the MLS. It's not a league where that's where you should be focusing. And City proved them obviously wrong. And now you've seen Lloris has been made a move. Another club in the MLS made another big move for a goalkeeper. I'm just blanking on the name right now. So yeah, MLS teams are seeing the success they had. They're seeing that Crew wins the goes to the championship with Patrick Schulte. Sorry, wins the championship with Patrick Schulte from St. Louis, who's now the USA's top young goalkeeper. And you can see goalkeepers move the needle in the MLS. We got to go get new ones.
We get it in America.
Yeah. Imitation is the sincerest form of flattery.
It is.
So How about that?
Good for City. The national championship game between Michigan and Washington tonight at NRG Stadium in Houston. Michigan is a 5.5-point favorite in this game. And, Brooke, I think that Michigan is going to be able to bully Washington, and I think they're going to be able to cover that 5.5 points. And I love Michael Penix Jr., the Washington quarterback. I love their skill position players. But here's my thought process. If you are a college football team that pushes Alabama around, which Michigan did, you're going to be able to push around anybody. Now, the speed could pose a problem for Michigan, the speed of Washington, but I just think that I think Michigan is going to beat them up.
Did you watch Michael Penix Jr.?
He was great.
He's great.
He hasn't had to face a pass rush like this.
And his offensive line is really, really good, including winning the award for being the best O-line in the entire country. And he has a wide receiver room with a lot of talent.
So you're taking Washington?
I think I'm going to take Washington.
Okay, I like this. Good.
I think it's a great matchup, honestly. I think it should be a really, really good game. And I think it's close, the predictions, for a reason. But I liked Washington's offense a lot.
It's fun to watch, and that's what'll give them an opportunity if they're going to win. It'll be protecting Penix and those receivers having big games, because I don't think they're going to be able to run on Michigan. And
no. But do they even care about that much, do you think? I mean, you care about a little bit.
They ran pretty well against Texas until, well, when Johnson got hurt. That was crazy. That was almost the way the game ended. Should be fun tonight. You'll hear the pregame at 5:30 here on 101 ESPN. Meanwhile, the Cardinals over the weekend getting Andrew Kittredge from Tampa in exchange for Richie Palacios. And, Brooke, you made the point about the Cardinals. Kittredge will be a free agent after the season. Obviously, you signed 2 of your starters to 1-year contracts, if you choose for them to be, with options. Goldie is up after this season. And you had an interesting, not a concern as much of it is.
What does it mean?
Yeah.
Because as you're talking about there are so many 1-year deals, and Kittredge, he will be a free agency next year. So what do you think that it means? Because I don't think it's a coincidence that you now have several players that are in that category of being done after this season, possibly, with the Cardinals.
It could be one of 2 things. Number one, it could be that they're concerned about the long-term financial viability of Bally. And there's going to be another hearing, I think, on Wednesday. And baseball wants Bally to commit that they're going to give them all the money they need for all the money that they're owed for 2024. Last year during the season, the Padres quit getting paid and the D-backs quit getting paid by their Bally affiliates, and they had to switch how people found the games on a day of a game in the middle of the season.
It looked crazy.
It did. And so baseball doesn't want that to happen. They don't want to inconvenience their fans any more than they have to.
But the Cardinals broadcasts are very profitable.
They are, and they should be safe. But I believe that baseball wants everybody to be in the same boat. So having no Bally, and there was a report that Bally was getting that a court filing reported that Bally was getting ready to wind down in September.
Yeah.
Well, if that's the case, the Cardinals don't know where money would come from. That would be one reason why they would have 1-year contracts. The other reason could be that, okay, I've got Andrew Kittredge and I've got a 1-year contract for Lance Lynn, and I've got a 1-year contract for Kyle Gibson. But I've got Tink Hence on the way. I've got Gordon Graceffo on the way. I've got Michael McGreevy on the way. I'm preparing for those guys to be ready to go in 2025. That could be the other thing. Maybe the 1-year deals are just holdovers until seat warmers until the young guys are ready.
Yeah, and with John Mozeliak, he will technically be, and I'm putting this in air quotes if you're not watching this on YouTube, done in 2025. Yep. Do you think that also is a part of factoring to this? Because then you're going to be ushering in a new era, possibly with Michael Gersh, unless something else crazy happens. But do you think that that's also in play with this?
I don't think so, because I would think that there is, they always use the term collaboration. I would think that whoever is going to take over from the internal aspect of Cardinals baseball. Would you be surprised if it was anybody from the outside?
I'd be very surprised if it was somebody from the outside.
So when Mo is done running the baseball operations here, I have to believe that there's going to be a level of collaboration to have the next person be prepared with a situation that they're amenable with.
Yeah, and I guess that there is one other way to look at the one-year contracts is for these players, if they want to continue to play elsewhere or with the Cardinals, then you have to perform at your best. So then you see these players with their backs against the wall. What do they perform like? You would hope that you would be getting the best out of them in these situations.
And here's the other thing. With both Lynn and Gibson, you have options for the next year. So if Bally clicks in and they say, okay, we're going to be here for the long term, you can pick up those options if those guys perform well.
So what are the Dodgers doing? Like, they don't seem worried about any TV deals or anything like that. They have like an infinite amount of cash, and they're not worried about anything.
I don't think they even need to worry about a TV deal. Yeah, they've just got a lot of money.
Yeah,
and
which they do have their own network,
which helps.
Still, yeah.
They're cleaning up. They don't. They said they haven't found a spot yet where there's a budget. It's crazy. That, folks, is your Rush Hour Reset on 101 ESPN. Coming up, we're going to talk to Michigan Hall of Famer, our town's the great Dan Dierdorf, next on 101 ESPN. Folks, St. Louis Food and Wine, presented by Schnucks, is back February 2nd and 3rd at Union Station in downtown St. Louis. It features hundreds of wines, a selection of craft beers, and culinary delights around every corner. It's the can't-miss event of the year. The event is presented by Schnucks to benefit the Repertory Theater of St. Louis and Operation Food Search. Now, you must be 21 or older to attend. For more information, visit schnucks.com/STL Food Wine to get your tickets. Here's a little bit more about it. On Friday, February 2nd from 7 to 10, it's the grand tasting event. Spend your evening sampling exceptional vintages from prominent domestic and international vintners and feast on gourmet food in the beautifully designed Grand Hall at Union Station. And then on Saturday, between noon and 5, it's the main tasting event, a full day of sampling hundreds of wines and a variety of gourmet food offerings. Experience wine tastings from the world's premier growing regions. And again, a commemorative wine glass is included Friday, February 2nd, Saturday, February 3rd at Union Station. St. Louis Food and Wine, presented by Schnucks. This website is the one to go to for information. Schnucks.com/STL Food Wine. Schnucks.com/STL Food Wine. Get involved today. Parker. It's the opening drive on 101 ESPN. Tonight, the national championship game, Michigan and Washington. And Michigan Hall of Famer, Pro Football Hall of Famer, College Football Hall of Famer, St. Louis Hall of Famer, Missouri State Hall of Famer, Dan Dierdorf joins us to talk about this game and all other things, because Dan always has great opinions. Good morning, sir. How you doing?
Good morning, Randy. How are you?
I'm doing great. And I've always admired your allegiance to and fandom of Michigan. The fact that after your national career, you went back to broadcast. I remember you doing, when you were doing Monday Night Football, you were doing a bowl game at some point. Do you still have the Hail to the Victors ringtone on your phone?
No, I don't. But that doesn't mean that I don't really appreciate hearing the world's greatest fight song every time I hear it. And I appreciated you playing the preamble to it. And, we'll hopefully we get to hear it a lot tonight.
Well, Dan, I think it's pretty easy to tell who you think will be winning tonight, but I wanted to ask you specifically, we saw how Michigan's defense was really able to pressure Alabama's offensive line and, of course, Jalen Milroe, but Michael Penix Jr. is a totally different quarterback. He's really a gunslinger, and with that Joe Moore award-winning offensive line in front of him, how will Michigan handle Washington's high-powered offense led by Penix?
Well, you've got my number. Call me about 11 o'clock tonight, and I'll tell you. It's the fact of the matter is you're right. This offense of Washington's is, I think they're extraordinary. Michael Penix got my vote for the Heisman Trophy. I thought he earned it. I thought he deserved it. He's the best thrower of the football in college football right now, and he's got 3 NFL receivers, and how we're going to cover all 3 of those guys, that is a big question. And you're right. Alabama had the world's biggest offensive line. 3 players weighed 360 pounds or more. Well, guess what? Their lateral movement was crap. So we ran all around them. This offensive line from Washington, you're right. They're the Joe Moore winners. They're great pass blockers, good run blockers. This is by far and away the best offense Michigan has seen all year.
That being said, Dan, it seems to me that maybe the best approach for Michigan to take is to keep the ball out of the Washington hands. And that seems like something that Michigan would be able to do.
Well, it's certainly, if we don't do it, it won't be through lack of effort. That's Michigan's path to winning this football game, is to keep Michael Penix on the Washington bench, put together long drives. You know, it's got a lot of names, bully ball, whatever you want to call it. But if we're going to win the football game tonight, we're going to have to run the football, run it effectively, and play keep away. I don't see another path. We do not want to get into a shootout with Washington. That's not what we're built for.
As soon as you said run the football, immediately think of Blake Corum and everything that he's done for Michigan this season. What have you thought of his play, and how big is he going to be in this game?
Well, first of all, I'm a little melancholy because Blake is going to play his last football game for Michigan tonight. And I have to tell you, I've been around Michigan football for 55 years, and there are maybe a handful of players that I would compare to Blake Corum in terms of what you see on the field, what you see off the field, the quality of the football player, the quality of the human being. Blake Corum is an extraordinary guy. I'm just so proud of his Michigan career. And you're right. He's the heartbeat of our football team. If Blake has a big night tonight, we'll win the game.
Hey, Dan, how do you feel about all of the rumors and all of the stuff surrounding Jim Harbaugh?
Well, you know, he is what he is. You know, what does it tell you about your college football coach that the first thing you do is check how many guys got fired this morning in the NFL because you know he's going to listen. You know Jim Harbaugh is going to listen. Clearly, there's an itch that he has not been able to scratch ever since he lost to his brother in the Super Bowl. And if I have to assume that if the right team with a good quarterback or a path to a good quarterback, if they make Jim Harbaugh a really good offer, he's probably going to take it.
What do you think of just the state overall of college football right now? We're going to see the playoff format change next season where you have 12 teams. What are your thoughts on that?
That's a great question because my thoughts are that in 2 or 3 years, we may not recognize college football. Once we go to the 12-team playoff, in my mind, the bowl system that we've enjoyed for decades is dead. It's nothing other than the games involving those 12 teams is going to matter. And I'm having trouble wrapping my head around the fact that starting next year, the Big Ten Conference is going to have a team in Seattle, Washington, and a team in Piscataway, New Jersey. Are you kidding me? College football, one of the great allures of college football was how regional it was. And it was, a team from the South against a team from the North and the East versus the West. Well, this is crazy. But it is what it is. And it's the world going forward, and you either adapt or die. That's where we are.
Well, and Dan, I watched this, but you lived it. For example, I cannot imagine a college football player in the Big Ten or in the Pac-12 opting out of the Rose Bowl. And for example, like Christian McCaffrey is a really bright guy and probably did the right thing for his career. But can you imagine, as a Michigan player, having the opportunity to play in the Rose Bowl and not?
No, I can't imagine that. But I do understand the business decision that some of these guys make. If you're not involved, it's the world in which we live now with the college player. If you're not involved in the playoff hunt, if you're not chasing a national championship, if I'm a parent and one of those kids was mine, it'd really be hard to say, well, go out there and get one for the Gipper and take a huge risk on your financial future. That's hard to do.
The other part of this, you mentioned that in a few years, college football might be non-recognizable. How is it that a student athlete, let's take JT Daniels as an example, who played at USC, went to Georgia, went to West Virginia, and went to Rice. Yeah. How's he going to college?
Well, I don't know. And they're mercenaries now. It's NFL light. It's whatever you want to call it. You will have schools that will still emphasize trying to be a student athlete. They're going to try to hang on to that. I know at Michigan, no football player is taking online courses. Michigan doesn't have online courses. They actually believe that you have to go sit in a classroom with other students. Isn't that a crazy idea?
It's crazy.
Yeah. And I remember, I think it was Justin Fields, when he was doing an interview, he said, hey, I heard campus is really attractive, but I've never been there because I take all my classes online. Okay, all right, that's great.
Amazing.
That's incredible. Well, I feel like we do, even though we mentioned at the beginning, we know who you were rooting for, but can you give us a final score prediction of what you think is going to happen tonight? Who's going to come away with the national championship?
Well, I feel pretty strongly this won't be a 10-7 football game. I think Michigan's going to have to score in the 30s if we're to win this game tonight. And that's the beautiful part of this. Let's be realistic. Washington might very well win tonight, and there'll be no hanging our head. These right now are the only two undefeated teams in college football. The committee got it right. It's number one versus number two. And, congratulations to whoever wins tonight. And if you don't win tonight, you've still had an extraordinary year, Washington. Yes, Michigan 35-31.
There we go.
I love it.
Hey, Dan, I want to touch on a couple of more things. Number one, you had a great quote a few years ago about the NFL. You said the game they're playing is not the game that I loved. And I agree with you 100% that the product is so much different, but man, it's still compelling to me. I cannot, and as much as I hate the business of the NFL for what they did to our city, I can't turn away from it.
Well, because if you appreciate the game of football, you have to appreciate the amount of skill that it takes to play it at that level. And that is, you're going to see a lot of skill in tonight's game. But when you watch a typical NFL game on Sunday, and if you're not impressed by the athleticism of the guys out there on the field and the speed and the power and everything that's involved in watching an NFL football game, if you don't appreciate that, well, then you're not a football fan. And Randy, that's why you love watching it. And I do too, because I rarely ever watch an NFL game where I don't just go, wow, that was something.
And then the final thing, Bill Belichick had a little press conference this morning. He said, hey, we're going to have player meetings today. I'll meet with Robert Kraft later in the week. And my feelings about Belichick are known. I don't know if you've ever heard my stat, but Dan, after yesterday, Bill Belichick, without Tom Brady as his quarterback, his record is 88-102. And with Brady, it's like 249-75. I think that there's a lot of Tom Brady in the success that Belichick had. But you always told me, hey, when we do these production meetings with Belichick, he's really a good guy. So if the career with the Patriots is over, can you kind of put it in perspective for us?
Well, first of all, you're right. You to remember what I've said about Bill Belichick. I like Bill a lot. And when you are in a meeting with Bill or a social setting with Bill, let me tell you something. He's as much fun to be around as anybody I've ever known. I'm a fascinating storyteller. He's an NFL historian. He will talk about anything involving the game of football except his current edition of the New England Patriots. You get squat about that. You don't get anything. But in terms, I love Bill Belichick, and all I want, if he and Robert Kraft are going to part ways, I think it will be a community effort. And Bill Belichick deserves that. And wherever they go, I just want Bill to be in charge. And I think Robert Kraft is smart enough to do that. Hopefully they can work something out.
And, oh, by the way, nobody else is winning 6 Super Bowls, regardless of how or why he got there. Nobody else is coming around that corner to win 6 Super Bowls ever again.
No, you're right. And Tom Brady didn't win those Super Bowls by himself. That when you look back at those New England teams, they had a lot of good football players, and they got cycled in and out over the 15 or 20 year run. It's just that Tom Brady was there basically for the whole part of it. But it was a community effort in New England. But I'm sorry, you won't get me to say anything negative about Bill Belichick.
I know.
Oh, he'll try. He'll try, Dan.
Well, he's got his detractors, and if I was a New England beat writer, I would have I don't know what I'd have done. my hair would have fallen out even earlier than it did. So
amazing.
He's something. Double D, It's always great to hear your voice. Thanks so much for the time. Good luck tonight. And Matthew said, if Michigan wins, I'm going to be happy for Dan Dierdorf. You know that I'm going to be happy for you. I want them to get a championship in the worst way, and we're rooting for the Wolverines tonight for you.
Oh, and one sideline notice for you tonight. I suspect John Harbaugh will be on the sideline with the Michigan football team tonight. I think the Harbaughs are pulling out all the stops.
Oh.
That'd be great. All right, enjoy it, Dan. Tell Debbie we said hi and have a great day.
All right, thank you, guys. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Dan. Dan Dierdorf, Double D, with us on 101 ESPN.
Oh, he's great. That was amazing.
Dan's as good as it gets.
Also, I loved his thoughts on just the state of college football, because it is weird when you talk about it, about conferences and where they are. It's nowhere near regional of what we're about to see.
When I grew up, it was the Big Eight, and the rivalries were all in conference. And you could count on playing Oklahoma and Nebraska every year, Kansas State. It was, you knew what to expect. It's completely different now. And the only thing that, well, the regionality of it also made the rivalries great.
Because then you can drive. You can do it's easy instead of having to get a plane ticket and go across the country.
Right. And you and I have talked about how the rival, like for Mizzou right now, because they moved to a different conference, they don't really have a real intense rivalry. It's amazing to me that Kansas is still their best rivalry. Fortunately for Dan, he'll always have Michigan and Ohio State. UCLA and USC are always going to be a rivalry. Yeah. But there are schools. I don't think Arkansas has a real rivalry, and they've been in the SEC forever. Right?
The big question, right, is if it's an actual rivalry between the two, or is it just more manufactured?
Yeah, and that's, by the way, a thing that the SEC is going to have to come to grips with, because there's so many. Look at Alabama, Auburn, Tennessee. That's their biggest rival, right? And Georgia, that they don't see them every year. But LSU. So those are three schools: LSU, Tennessee, and Auburn that Alabama has to see every year.
Yeah.
Well, you're not going to have the opportunity to set that up so that they can play them every year.
Yeah. It's weird. It's very weird how it's all changing in that way.
And it'd be a shame if they do give those three to Alabama. Then you're missing out on Lane Kiffin against Alabama every year, which is kind of a bummer.
Lane Kiffin against Tennessee, which he always likes to make fun of Tennessee.
The great stuff. Next up, what should we take out of the Blues' 4-game homestand? What should we expect? That's next on 101 ESPN. Hey, how you feeling this morning? Guys, if you're feeling fatigued already on Monday morning, if you don't have the energy that you used to have, could be an issue with low T, and that's where Mentality comes into play. My friends at Mentality have an FDA-approved supplemental testosterone treatment that will restore your testosterone, because the reason for the fatigue, the reason for the lack of energy, if you're past your 30th birthday, very well could be low T. And at Mentality, when you come in, they'll check your blood work. They're going to make sure that your testosterone level is goes where it needs to be, and then they'll use that treatment to get it back to where it needs to be. You go in every week and you will get restored to that energy level that you had when you were younger. Go to lowtusa.com to get started. lowtusa.com. You can set up an appointment in one of their beautiful clinics, either in Chesterfield or in South County. You're going to be working with great people that do everything right, and you can get that energy level back that you used to have, and you can enjoy life more. You can coach your kids at night. You can have the stamina to get through a workout by going to Mentality. Get started today at lowtusa.com.
This is Rocky with your Sports Center update, driven by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet and Johnny Londoff Autoplex. The Blues over the weekend with a big shootout win over the Carolina Hurricanes, 2-1 in that game. They'll be back in action facing off against the Florida Panthers tomorrow evening at Enterprise Center. It's a 7 p.m. puck drop, means you can catch the pregame show right here on your home for the St. Louis Blues starting at 6 p.m. You can also check out more Blues talk on our Dobbs Tire and Auto Centers podcast as Chris Kerber joined Brooke and Randy earlier. And if you're getting set for the national championship tonight between Michigan and Washington, go back to our Dobbs Tire and Auto Centers podcast as we talk to Michigan Hall of Famer Dan Dierdorf. That is your Sports Center update, driven by Johnny Londoff. Find your roads and shop 24/7 at londoff.com and londoffautoplex.com. Are you kidding me?
Fifth round of the shootout. Shen, ball with his feel good for him. Can he win it? In, shootout, Deeks, shoots, score! The captain with a game winner in the shootout. A 2-1 win on the road against the Hurricanes. And you can bring out the Zamboni. The boys are coming home for a homestand.
Chris Kerber, the call on Saturday night. Braden Shen scoring in the fifth round of the shootout to give the Blues their seventh win under their new coach. They're 7-3 and in their last 10. And Brooke, as we start this 4-game homestand, it's going to be really difficult, I would think, for the Blues, even though they're 7-3 in their last 10. Think about this. Tomorrow, you've got the Panthers, 52 points, third most in the National Hockey League, 2 points out of first overall. Only 2 points out of first. Thursday, the Rangers have 54 points, tied for the most points overall. Saturday, the Bruins, 54 points, tied for the most overall. And then next Monday, the finale of this 4-game homestand, the Flyers, who have 46 points. That's the seventh most in the NHL. This homestand will give the Blues a really good idea as to how good they are. Can they be in the upper echelon of the NHL? Because this is all the upper echelon of the NHL.
I think that this will showcase that. Even the way that they have started into this, there's been so many encouraging signs under Drew Bannister. Whatever is happening, whatever message, which I don't believe, and I've said this, that it's any different than really what Craig Berube had message-wise. You just want your players to play hard. But it seems like he is going about it in a different manner that resonates more, especially with these young players. And I think that was really key with what Army was looking for, is that he wanted to maximize these young players and these big contracts that you have with Robert Thomas and with Jordan Kyrou. Robert Thomas has been fantastic this season. He deserves so much credit, especially consistently throughout this season, what he's been able to bring to this team. I mean, we heard Kerbs earlier when he was talking about the numbers and compared to Ryan O'Reilly and his Selke season. I think that that tells you a lot about Robert Thomas and his progression. He continues to make strides every single season, and he deserves a lot of credit.
And he'll be huge during this stretch. Why are these teams great? All of these teams, top 7 in the NHL. The Florida Panthers are third in goals against per game, 2.51. The Bruins are fifth at 2.66 allowed per game. The Rangers are sixth at 2.74 allowed per game, and the Flyers are eighth at 2.74 allowed per game. So it is going to be incumbent upon the Blues, obviously, to keep the goals against down, because you aren't going to score many, but you need to take advantage of those opportunities when they present themselves. And with your fulcrum of the offense being Robert Thomas, he's going to have a big homestand offensively for this team.
He is. And the way that the Blues have been able to shut down some of the teams that they have faced, they've been able to shut down a lot of other teams' top lines. And I think that everybody deserves a lot of credit for that. Colton Parayko, we talked about Robert Thomas, and we've talked a lot about Colton Parayko, but this season for Colton Parayko has been huge for him and what he's been able to do, but also the way that they're able to really limit and almost shut down opposing teams' top lines. And these are good lines that they're facing. I think that says a lot, too.
One of the other things that has happened under Bannister in these 10 games, do you remember a time, maybe the Tampa Bay game right at the beginning, but that would be it, where do you remember a time where you thought they weren't playing hard? Because that happened a lot this season.
Yeah, and it was the way that they lost, too.
Yeah, and now we always talk about giving 60 minutes. It seems like the Blues are regularly giving 60 minutes of effort.
Yeah, you definitely notice the difference there. Even in these close games, remember when you felt that earlier on in the season, those close games, they would get out of hand very quickly.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, in a few minutes, there would be a flurry of goals allowed, and you're like, how do we go from this being like a 1-goal game to like a 3-goal game difference now? But it seems like they're able to close the gap more, and they're playing a tighter game.
So what do you think of these 4? I think the Blues can very easily get 4 of the 8 points.
I think so, too. I believe in
it. But I think
yes.
they can get 4 of the 8.
I believe in it right now. I'm very excited with what they have going on. I feel like you can take your hand off the panic button at this point with all the changes. And Craig Berube, of course, when you say all this, when you're giving credit to Drew Bannister, all this stuff, it doesn't take away from everything that Craig Berube has done. I still don't like the change, but I do understand that sometimes change is necessary, and it seems to have worked for this group for whatever reason. And that was a tough position the Army was put in, where he had to get something out of this to figure out if this was a retool or if this was something that you had to rebuild completely.
It's part of hockey.
It changes the conversation, right?
Right. When you look at what happened with Boston when they got rid of Bruce Cassidy, he goes to Vegas and wins a cup. But NHL coaches move around all the time. And it's because, for whatever reason, after 3 or 4 years, they lose the ear of their players. Peter DeBoer has been all over the place. He's won wherever wherever he's been. But he's lost the ear of teams. We've mentioned Peter Laviolette, John Tortorella.
Yeah.
All of these guys at some point are going to lose the ear of their teams, and it's just something that we have to accept. Even though we love a coach who won us a Stanley Cup, we have to accept that there's a shelf life for all of them.
Exactly. And someone from the 618 texted in, Blues are now enjoyable to watch. They actually are, right?
Yeah.
Those games earlier on, I was like, I don't know if I could make it through the entire game, but now you actually feel like you can watch through the end, and no matter the result, you're watching a good game.
That's Brooke. I'm Randy. Coming up, we've got your chance to win tickets to Billy Joel and to Sting on Friday, September 27th at Busch Stadium. Plus, we've got Rocc Roll here on 101 ESPN.
Hey everyone, it's Brooke here, and I want to tell you about my experience with riding MetroLink. So, as you know, we mentioned the Blues are going to have a 4-game homestand, so it's a great opportunity for you to get over to Enterprise Center. So why not do what I did? I decided to take the Metro over to the Enterprise Center, and it was super easy to do. We have one. I live over in University City, and we have a MetroLink stop right by our house, so I didn't have to even drive. I could just walk right over, hopped on the MetroLink, and it took me to Enterprise Center. It felt like maybe 10 minutes, and Randy, you know, it drops you off right there, and it's just easy to access for everyone.
And Brooke, as awesome as Metro is for sports, and it is, everybody can use it because a healthy Metro is vital to the viability to attract big companies to St. Louis. Now, if you already like Metro, you're going to love it once you know what the difference Metro makes in all of our communities is. And even if you don't use it yourself, there are lots of reasons to recommend it to others. It really is a great resource for our region. If you want to support your community, riding Metro supports local businesses and helps reduce traffic congestion too. In short, thanks to Metro, you don't have to drive to thrive. Hey, there's so many great St. Louis people to work with, and if you already work with Together Credit Union, you know what I'm talking about. And if you don't work with Together Credit Union, you need to become a member, because if you're looking for a safe investment option, check out Together Credit Union's CD rate and term options and watch your money grow. Certificates of deposit or CDs are a reliable way to grow your hard-earned money because the return on your investment is fixed and guaranteed. Right now, Together Credit Union is offering a competitive 9-month certificate of deposit with an APY of 5.00%. Required minimum balance of $1,000. Visit your nearest Together Credit Union branch or go online to togethercu.org for details and start growing your savings today. Early withdrawal penalties apply and may reduce earnings on the account. Rate offers are accurate as of December 27th, respectively. Rates are subject to change without notice. Other rates and terms available. Membership eligibility required. Federally insured by the NCUA. It's Together Credit Union.
I want to rock.
and roll.
Let's rock. Let's rock today.
Sing us a song, you're the piano man.
Oh,
Sing us a song tonight, for we're all in the mood for a melody, and you've got us feeling all right. Not
a Billy Joel fan, huh?
No, I am. I don't know all the lyrics like that. I know the
101
gist
ESPN
of it.
has your chance to learn the lyrics.
Yes.
A chance to score a pair of tickets to Billy Joel and Sting. Roxanne. For one night only on Friday, September 27th at Busch Stadium.
Why are you confused, Rocc? You didn't realize
was
it
that the
Sting?
Police?
I didn't know Sting was the lead. Is Sting the lead singer of the Police?
Yeah.
I didn't know Sting was the lead singer of the Police. I've only known Sting as a solo artist.
Oh, okay.
I never dove into the Police before. I didn't realize Sting was the lead singer of Police. This is a block in my memory.
I'm going to be honest. I didn't know that either.
I knew.
If we're speaking our truths right now.
Because you said Roxanne, I'm like, that's the Police. I'm like, oh my God, is Sting the lead singer?
Yeah, sure was. Yeah.
Wow.
Yep. Tickets for Billy and Sting go on sale Friday at 10 a.m., but you can win free tickets right now by texting the Air Comfort Service text line at 314-399-9646. You have to answer a question, so wait till the question is asked. But you can find all the ticket details and a bonus chance to register to win tickets to Billy Joel and Sting at 101ESPN.com or on the 101 mobile app. Again, tickets on sale Friday morning at 10 a.m. Billy Joel and Sting, one night only, Friday, September 27th at Busch. All right, Matthew, what do we got in terms of a question for the masses to answer to get these said tickets?
All right, because of the national championship tonight, I was doing a little research on the Washington Huskies, and I just want to say, first of all, College Football Reference needs to get their mind out of the gutter because there is not an NFL logo next to DeMarco Farr's name on the 1991 Washington Huskies roster, despite the fact that he obviously played a few years in the NFL.
That's College Football Reference?
Yes, College Football Reference doesn't have an NFL logo next to DeMarco Farr's name.
So yesterday, maybe the day before, I'm doing Immaculate Grid football.
Okay.
And it's got one of the things is Super Bowl champ, Pro Bowl. I put DeMarco Farr. And it blanks me out. It says no. And so I actually sent them a note that said, I put DeMarco Farr in. He played for the 1999 Rams, and then he played in the Super Bowl the week after, or in the Pro Bowl the week after. I know he did.
Yeah.
He went to Hawaii, and they wouldn't give him credit for that either.
Did they reply back yet or no?
I don't believe I've heard from them.
I love when you do that, Ray. One, because we've seen you do it during the fight, but also I've seen you in action at a trivia event where a question was wrong, and then you're like, wait a second. Yeah. Excuse me, and point it out.
I try to make sure that
you're just helping people.
Yeah, I'm trying to be of service.
Well, my question was going to be that the starting quarterback of that 1991 team didn't really play in the NFL very much, but his backup ended up having a long, storied career in the NFL. So in that 1991 Washington Huskies team, the backup quarterback would go on to have a very long NFL career. Who was that backup quarterback for the 1991 Washington Huskies?
I might know both of those quarterbacks. That's a good one. I like that. Text in 314-399-9646, 314-399-YO-HO. Backup quarterback for the 91 Huskies. And if you are texter number 75, that was DeMarco's number, you will win those tickets. All right, we got any rock and roll stuff? You got any great information for us?
Yes, I do. I'm getting a confirmation right now. I'm trying to ascertain confirmation.
The Flash apparently official.
The pronunciation for the new left back for St. Louis City.
It's either Deer or Dyer.
Apparently.
Oh, there's a third option.
Apparently, it might be Dewar.
Doer.
Yes, I'm getting. I right now am talking to the PR guys at City, and they're confirming that it is in fact Doer. So like I thought it was Dyer. I thought it maybe Dyer or something like that. Yeah. But yeah, apparently we're confirming right now that it's Doer. By the way, if you didn't hear it earlier, Nicholas, I'm going to call him right now for what I have. It might change. Nicholas Doer has been acquired from Danish club FC Midtjylland, which if you don't know anything about, I don't know why I know this, but I just happen to know that that's a very good club at producing young talent. And he played for their European Champions U21 team. He's played for youth teams in Denmark before. And bottom line is here, City had to come in here and they had to get a couple positions to solve out, the problems from last year. And the three moves that they've made have been a right back in Thomas Totland, a left back now in Nicholas Dewar, and a defensive midi in the trade for Chris Durkin that happened at the very beginning of the offseason. They've made all their moves, and it's a good thing they have because training camp starts in a week.
Oh, man, that's unbelievable.
Oh, wow.
So Nicholas
That's quick.
Dewar going to be a member of St. Louis City SC. Oh, by the way, yesterday, Nicolas Cage's birthday. He was born in 1964, so he's 59. Favorite Nicolas Cage movie? Mine's The Rock.
Oh, National Treasure.
National Treasure, okay.
Ooh.
Con Air was good.
Yeah,
Con Air's
National
really
Treasure.
good. I'm actually talking about good ones. It's probably Con Air. Like actually like good Nicolas Cage movies. Con Air's
I feel like
incredible.
there's one that I'm forgetting. Hold on one second.
Captain Corelli's Mandolin.
Was he leaving Las Vegas?
Leaving Las Vegas is The Dark Truth of the Life of an Alcoholic. Yes.
Ghost Rider.
Should not be up there.
I think he made his debut in Fast Times at Ridgemont High.
Really?
He might have been named Nicholas Coppola at the time.
I was gonna say I'm surprised his debut wasn't as like a kid in like a Godfather movie, like the background of a Godfather movie, because a lot of people don't know that, by the way. Of course, the Nicolas Cage is from the Coppola family.
Yeah,
and I think that kind of blows a lot of people's minds.
Yeah, it is.
Really?
He's Francis Ford's grandson.
Right. Yeah, Francis Ford Coppola.
Oh.
So now you know via radio. So have you given us? So Matthew gave us definitive.
I'm going to have to go with National Treasure, too.
Okay.
I love that movie, but Con Air is a better movie. I'll admit that.
I love The Rock. I even bought the soundtrack to The Rock.
The Rock.
With Sean Connery. It's great. Great movie. All right. You can hear our interview with Dan Dierdorf on the podcast, which will come your way, brought to you by Dobbs Tire and Auto Center. It'll be on the app and on the 101 ESPN website later on today. And, of course, we congratulate the winner of the Billy Joel and Sting tickets, and we'll be giving those away every single day this week. As a matter of fact, BK and Ferrario in the Fast Lane, each show is going to be giving away tickets for the concert every single day this week.
The starter, Billy Joe Herbert, I want to say, for the Hobert, for the backup who had a much longer NFL career. The lefty,
Mark
Brunell was the answer, and we'll give those tickets out to the winner.
Yeah, there you go.
Nice.
So now you know.
And some people were disappointed that Rocc and I did not know that Sting was the lead singer of the Police. So we pinky promised we'll go home and study it.
You got to understand it, though. I knew Roxanne, I knew the Police, but I just didn't know
songs.
Sting, which band he was from. Come on now.
Yeah. Great job by our producer, audio, video engineer, the one, the only Matthew Rocchio. Thank you, sir.
Pleasure.
Brooke, did you have fun today?
Yes.
Danny Mack's going to join us tomorrow. Looking forward to that as we have a new edition of the opening drive here on 101 ESPN. We thank you for tuning in, texting in, and being a part of the show. For all of us, until tomorrow morning at 7, have a great Monday, St. Louis.
That's right.
I'll tell you what, if you are in the market for a new vehicle, you need to get in touch with my friend at AutoLoanPro.com. They can help you out in buying a vehicle. They can help you find a vehicle. But the cool thing is, when you buy and find a vehicle, they're going to get you the best deal in terms